National Convention. By the way, the president insists that the dialogue won't cost as much as we've been told, right? And it's being done, according to the presidency, in line with prudent public finance management. But how much is not too much exactly? What is the exact figure? Various figures being floated now, but no commitment to a figure in the presidency's own communication on this issue. So hopefully we can get something out of our guest at 7 a.m. at the top of 7. That is the presidential spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya, who will talk to us about the National Convention part of the national dialogue going ahead, even despite the withdrawal and some of the criticisms that have been leveled by some of the legacy foundations. So your Thabo Mbeki Foundation, Desmond and Leah Tutu Foundation, Steve Biko Foundation, F.W. de Klerk Foundation, Chief Albert Luthuli Foundation, and so on and so on. About 6 of them that withdrew from the preparatory task team as well as the National Convention, not from the overall commitment to the national dialogue, but just these first opening acts of that particular process. Vincent Magwenya will talk to me at the top of 7 a.m. Ghosts of tweets from the past have come rumbling alive to haunt our sports, arts and culture minister, Gayton McKenzie. McKenzie's tweets, some of them from over a decade ago, including derogatory references to black South Africans using the K word, have been unearthed. And this has happened in the wake of his vociferous complaints about the prejudicial and racist rants, really, of the hosts of a podcast known as the Open Chat podcast. You will know about those. We were reporting about those rants a few days ago. So in the process of him taking issue with that and reporting that and insisting that there should be consequences, legal consequences for those rants, his own tweets have come back now to haunt him. Not only does McKenzie now face pressure from social media users, but there are now growing calls for political consequences to be meted out, with the African Transformation Movement, the ATM, formally filing a complaint calling for the urgent investigation and removal of Gayton McKenzie, citing those resurfaced social media posts that they deem racist and offensive toward black South Africans. The matter has been raised with Parliament, the presidency, and the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Ethics. At the same time, Action SA is also piling on the pressure, reporting McKenzie to the South African Human Rights Commission. At 7:20, I'll be in conversation with Solimo Weng, who is a reputation management strategist, but also, importantly, part of the leadership team at Action SA. And he will talk to me about, the actions that are being taken, but also just the impact on Gayton McKenzie's budding political career of these tweets that are resurfacing now, some of them, as I said, as old as a decade or even more in some instances. Tensions in the GNU, guess what? That's still a thing. Recently, the ANC's National Executive Committee proposed expanding the GNU to include new parties, particularly those that helped it to pass the national budget after the DA withheld its support. These include Action SA, Build One South Africa, and the National Coloured Congress, some of the parties that are potential in terms of being roped in to be a part of the executive, I imagine, from those deliberations coming from the ANC's National Executive Committee. But like many plans in that governing coalition, this one too has swiftly run into opposition, this time from another GNU partner, that is the FF Plus, Vryheidsfront Plus, Freedom Front Plus. Its leader, Corné Mulder, saying that the ANC's move is self-serving and an attempt to preserve power, not a consensus-driven process. So he argues that the existing GNU partners were not even consulted, and key structures like a common policy platform have yet to be implemented even after a year, even as the ANC is now talking about potentially expanding and opening up the door for other partners to come in. So for its part, you will know that the DA is frustrated by what it sees as the ANC's attempt to sidestep the DA's influence as one of the key coalition partners. So the examples of that will include, of course, the firing of the DA Deputy Minister Andrew Whitfield, as well as the ANC's outreach to the likes of of Action SA and BOSA during the budget negotiation processes. All of that escalating tensions within the government of national unity. So at about 10 to 7 this morning, I'll be in conversation with Corné Mulder, who is the leader of the Freedom Front Plus. So those are some of the milestones over our journey together over the next 3 hours. The full bench of the Morning Brief team is ready, able and willing, as always, to serve you with your essential updates throughout the morning. Dineo Motaung at the ready with your hourly and half-hourly news updates. Rob Byrne confirms he has your traffic. Zai Khan confirms your sport. Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in brief, and that's coming up shortly. Dauleng Lechela, always right on the money with your business and market updates, as well as Sipho Mandula with your Africa update. And that's coming up at about 20 to 7 this morning. Through it all, I want to hear from you. Let's engage. The number to dial is 086 000 2032. Please send me your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. It's a brand new week, folks. Let's get the Monday edition of the Morning Brief started.
Channel your inner warrior woman this August on Expresso as we celebrate and empower women across South Africa. From trailblazing heroines to inspiring entrepreneurs, we spotlight stories of strength, resilience, and change. Join us for powerful panel chats, wisdom, wellness, and bold conversations on equality, GBV, and women's rights. This Women's Month, rise with the women leading our nation forward. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. only on S3.
Imagine if you could save time like you save money. A second here, a minute there. Type a little faster, walk a little faster. Or you could stop scrolling on the internet. Just think of all the hours you'll save. Now what if you could take all that time and invest it? Watch it grow. Until eventually, one day, you'd have so much time that you wouldn't know what to do with it all. But unfortunately, time doesn't work like that. It can't be stored or banked. And unlike money, you can't make it back. That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time to do whatever you want to do, even if it is scrolling on the internet. Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the Morning Brief.
Yeah, kicking us off is Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in brief. Good morning to you, Melissa, and happy Monday. Let's start with this. Chief Justice Mandisa Maya promised this when she was being interviewed for the position, and now she's delivered on her promise.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Yes, so Chief Justice Mandisa Maya has introduced a sexual harassment policy for South Africa's judiciary, calling it an urgent and necessary step to uphold justice within the system. Prompted by the recent allegations against Eastern Cape Judge President Selby Mbenenge, the policy aims to entrench accountability and respect. It establishes zero tolerance for sexual harassment, sets out to clear reporting procedures, protects complainants from retaliation, and enforces disciplinary measures. Maya emphasized that the judiciary must lead by example and uphold values of dignity, equality, and integrity to maintain public trust at all times.
Yeah, definitely something that we will have to revisit in the coming days and just unpack what it entails. And as you rightly say, I mean, recently we saw that Judicial Conduct Tribunal into the Eastern Cape Judge President and some of the themes that came to the fore. So an important discussion for us to have in the coming days. It's been a deadly past few days for the SAPS, a number of police officers killed. Tell me what civil society organizations are saying.
So the civil rights group, Not In My Name, amongst other unions and groups, are calling for urgent action after the killings of 3 police officers in less than a week. The group urged Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia to respond decisively, warning that attacks on police threaten state authority. The officers were killed in separate incidents in Mpumalanga and Gauteng, with suspect Jabulani Moyo linked to 2 of the murders. Kachalia and police leadership condemned the violence, vowing justice and urging officers to stay vigilant and use appropriate force at all times. So far in the current financial year, 6 officers have been killed, with 27 deaths recorded in the previous year alone. So this will be interesting to see how the police minister is dealing with this in the coming near future.
Yeah. And lastly, Melissa, our plans to add more nuclear capability in terms of the energy mix finally make one important step. It's always difficult to get the clearance from an environmental perspective, but that has happened, yeah?
Yes, so Electricity Minister has welcomed the environmental approval for a new nuclear facility near Cape Town's Koeberg station, calling it a key step towards securing South Africa's future energy supply. After 8 years of appeals, Environment Minister Dion George upheld the 2017 authorization, allowing Eskom to move forward with their plan. Ramokgopa said nuclear energy would be central to a balanced energy mix, supporting stability, low carbon power, job creation, and skills development. He also emphasized South Africa's strong track record in safe nuclear operations and reaffirmed nuclear's role in meeting energy demand and climate goals. So it will be interesting to watch the development of this plan.
All right, Melissa, thank you for that. That's Melissa Buta with the morning brief in brief for you.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
19 minutes after 6 on the weather front, here's how we are looking. One warning coming through from the weather service is a yellow level 2 warning. It says damaging waves resulting in disruptions of small harbors and ports and difficulty in navigation, as well as possible storm surge. Those conditions are expected between Lambert's Bay and Port Edward. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria will be fine with a minimum of 7 and a maximum of 21. Johannesburg fine 6 to 18. Mbombela fine at first, otherwise partly cloudy 10 to 21. Polokwane fine becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon 8 to 21. Mahikeng fine 4 to 23. Bloemfontein will be fine with a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 19. Kimberley fine -1 to 20. Uppington will be fine 1 to 23. Cape Town fine 9 to 18. George will be fine with a minimum of 7 and a maximum of 18. Gqeberha fine 8 to 18. East London fine 9 to 18. Durban will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and rain 16 to 21. Richards Bay partly cloudy with isolated showers and rain 16 to 21. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will be partly cloudy with isolated evening showers and rain 8 to 18.
SAFM celebrates its 89th birthday this month by giving listeners an exclusive opportunity to attend the prestigious Joy of Jazz taking place at the Sandton Convention Centre from the 26th to the 28th of September 2025. To stand a chance to win these sought-after tickets, simply SMS SAFM 89 followed by your name to 41391 and stay tuned to SAFM as we could be calling you. SAFM is the official media partner for the Dipala stage at the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. Entries open from the 7th of August and close on the 31st of August 2025. Winners will be randomly selected and called from the 1st of September 2025. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. T's and C's apply. Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
22 minutes after 6, the U.S. President Donald Trump is set to meet his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday, aiming to broker a peace deal to end the war in Ukraine. While European leaders have cautiously welcomed Trump's diplomatic push, deep concerns remain about a potential agreement that could involve Ukraine having to cede some territory to Russia. Despite mounting international pressure and ongoing fighting across eastern Ukraine, that country's president Volodymyr Zelensky and his allies insist any deal must preserve Ukraine's sovereignty and include Kyiv as a full partner in the negotiations. Let's speak to Roland Henwood, political scientist and commentator at the University of Pretoria. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time, Roland. So this face-to-face meeting between Presidents Trump and Putin is quite significant, isn't it? The way I understand it, it is Putin's first trip to the U.S. since 2007, if you don't count the visits to the United Nations.
Good morning to Thulasizwe. Yes, it is important, and some see it as a victory already for President Putin in that he has broken the isolation that he faced and is managing to go to the U.S. to meet with President Trump. Others see it as a potential meeting, an honest attempt to get at least some kind of process going to end the war in Ukraine. So depending on where you stand on this, very different interpretation of what this actually means, not only for Ukraine, but also in terms of what happens at the top leadership level in the US and in Russia.
Yeah, and before we get into the substance of it all, the venue itself is actually significant, is it not? This is Alaska, and this is territory that used to be Russian territory but was sold to the U.S. in 1867.
Yes, so historically interesting. I don't know if it's that important. Again, there are different interpretations. On the one hand, it's said some see it again as a victory for Putin going to Alaska, to the U.S. On the other hand, one can look at it and say, Mr. Putin doesn't really have a choice. He has to go where Mr. Trump said he can meet him. So no one knows what really happened and how this was decided. The expectation was that the meeting could happen in the Middle East. That was the indication from Russia. It's going to happen very far from there, so that may be significant. It's interesting historically. It may actually not be that important in the end.
Of course, part of what those who are telling the story have done is to talk about, if we are talking swap of territory, the symbolism can't be lost. That you're talking about swapping territories on the battlefront in Ukraine, Russia, and you are having those conversations in what is the ultimate swapped territory in that transaction that happened, as I say, many, many years ago. But let's get to what's on the agenda. How much do we know about the kind of deal that Mr. Trump is seeking to broker in the Russia-Ukraine conflict?
We actually don't know much, apart from what Mr. Trump said, that it's likely that there will be some swapping of territory. Now, that is interpreted as a one-way process where Ukraine is going to cede territory. Mr. Zelensky immediately said, we're not interested. This is a sovereign country. We're not going to give anything. Now, that's been the position of both since a very long time ago, and also that's the position that Trump has been taking since before he was re-elected. One must look at it, I think, in a very pragmatic way, and that is, what is the chance of Russia returning the Crimea, for instance, which it annexed in 2014? And if you want peace, what is it that you are willing to trade? And I think that's going to be the key issue. I don't think it's possible to only look at Ukraine and say what you're going to trade. What is Russia going to do? What is the US going to do? And then very importantly, and this is an important change that I think has become clear since the weekend, and that is, or since earlier in the weekend, and that is that Europe is also a party to this, and Mr. Zelensky is a party to this. So this is not going to be a Trump-Putin meeting that decides anything on their own. And to indicate how this has changed is the Vice President was in Europe over the weekend to meet with NATO and European counterparts, and he indicated that they are working to include Mr. Zelensky because, as he said, no peace is going to be possible if he is not party to the deal. So there are already some changes. That is what we know. What we also know is that Mr. Putin asked for the meeting. That apparently is where this started. So clearly, two things. Russia under pressure, definitely, and careful of alienating Mr. Trump further. Secondly, Russia realizing that they have an opportunity to work out a deal with Mr. Trump. It may be more difficult if he's not involved, but there is a process going forward now that aims to end the war in Ukraine, but that is going to involve multiple role players.
Yeah, all right. I've got to thank you for your time once again. That's Roland Henwood, political scientist and commentator at the University of Pretoria.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning.
Good morning.
Zai, I was going to let you just get on with it.
Yeah.
something irks me. Bafana are taking on Guinea. Which one? Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau, Equatorial Guinea, Papua New Guinea.
No, it's
Which
just
Guinea?
It's Bafana taking on Guinea. There's no Bissau, there's no Conakry. It's the flag. You know the flag, Thulas? The
Yes.
one with the red, yellow, and the green. So,
Yeah.
But they are playing at the Nelson Mandela Stadium
In Kampala. Beautiful.
It's beautiful.
We'll love
It's
it.
their home turf almost.
We'll love
so, yeah, let's hope we come back with history and not a history lesson as we face Guinea in this African Nations Championships. 4 p.m. is the kickoff. It's the first ever Chan clash between the two countries, and both are in the hunt for vital Group C points. The South Africans are approaching the game with the discipline and tactical focus needed to win and to snap their winless run. Let's go closer to home. Durban City collecting 3 points in their Betway Premiership debut after a 2-0 victory against TS Galaxy at the Mbombela Stadium. Kaizer Chiefs kicking off their 2025-26 Betway Premiership campaign with a 2-0 win over 10-man Stellenbosch FC at Athlone Stadium last night. Elsewhere, Crystal Palace twice came from behind to stun the new-look Liverpool 3-2 and win the Community Shield for the first time on penalties after a 2-2 draw at Wembley yesterday. And Real Madrid midfielder Eduardo Camavinga is in doubt for the start of the Spanish La Liga season after suffering a sprain to his right ankle, and that was during training. On to rugby, the Boland Cavaliers continuing their giant-killing run in the Currie Cup. They had a 29-10 bonus point win over the Lions in Wellington. And golf, South Africa's Dean Burmester held off John Rahm and Giselle Ballister in a playoff yesterday to win the Live Golf Chicago event. The South African took a 2-stroke lead, and that was into Sunday's final round. But that evaporated after he began the day with 3 consecutive bogeys. But here's Dean Burmester after the fight back.
Got kind of lucky, actually, with my tee shot there, stopping in the rough. Kind of gave me a fuller shot in, and I got the perfect little right bounce, and it went to 6.5 feet or whatever it was, and read it right to left, and I went right to left, and then went right and lipped in. So I was halfway through a fist pump, and then I had to pause and then have a second go at it. But yeah, the moment after the emotion of trying to win a golf tournament there's nothing sweeter than that. And then to have these two boys on the ends to kind of do it right behind me, and all 3 of us to birdie the playoff hole is special.
And that's a wrap. We'll keep it in the golf bag for
Before
now.
you go, I had to check which Guinea. You're absolutely right. Nowhere do they make reference to which Guinea. So one has to assume it's Guinea-Conakry. I think if it's not specified, Zelma, why are you saying Aibo? If it's not specified that it's Guinea-Bissau, or one has to, I take it, you have to assume it's Guinea-Conakry. That's my assumption.
They're now going with Guinea. Just Guinea.
It's a foul.
Yeah.
It's a foul for them to do that. All right,
Wow.
let's go to the Naumutawung with the latest news.
Thank you, Thulas. A very good morning. Let's take a look at the headlines at 6:30. A man accused of raping and killing a 6-year-old girl is expected to plead guilty when the case resumes in the High Court in Johannesburg today. In other news, the presidency says preparations for the first national convention of the National Dialogue Process comply with the Public Finance Management Act, and the family of a slain police officer in Schoemansdal in Mpumalanga is calling for justice. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Joburg's Mike 1 is already under quite a bit of pressure. It is queuing from Gold Reef City up already right through Bramford Head up towards Empire Road. It is quite easy. The heaviest highway this time of morning around Gauteng. There's a lot of traffic coming in from the south, and that is your main route that jams up that Mike 1. There's also some pressure northbound on the M1 through Diepkloof and the R59 north towards Michelle Avenue as well. Looking at Gay out of Pretoria down to Joburg, traffic building, but no major obstructions on the Route 1 through the Midrand area today. A couple of issues if you're driving northern parts of KZN. Got a report coming in of a tanker crash and some protest action. Got the R34 with a tanker crash. This is approximately 8 Ks from Blood River side on that 34, so that's likely to be a problem. And just outside Freyhead on the R69, there's also some protesting reported there as well. Spaghetti Junction just starting to get a bit tight on the M2 running northbound. There's also a crash in on the M3 before Key Ridge. So if you're on your way to Durban, that's just starting to queue up as well. And Cape Town this morning, a breakdown before Rapenburg Road in that lane drop section. So the M2 inbound quite heavy into that from the airport. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Hey, Ndauling, good morning to you. For the first update of the week, let's talk the warnings coming through from economists about higher U.S. inflation.
That's right, Tula. So economists are concerned about the trajectory of U.S. inflation, warning of a slight uptick in July, with the core consumer price index expected to rise 0.3% from the previous month. Now, this increase is attributed to retailers passing on higher import duties to consumers in categories such as household furnishings and recreational goods. But cheaper fuel prices may have limited the overall CPI gain to 0.2%. Despite this, many economists expect higher import duties to continue feeding through to consumers, posing a dilemma for Fed officials who are trying to gauge the sustainability of inflation and monitor the strength of the job market. Now, these expectations come despite an expected solid gain in July retail sales, driven by incentives and online shopping events. Now, economists caution that strong headline numbers may not necessarily translate to resilient consumer spending.
Yeah, well, tell me what's happening with Accelerate Property Fund. Why is it slipping deeper into the red?
So the owner of Four Ways Mall continues to struggle. Over the 4-year period, its loss widened to 1.27 billion rands, up from a loss of 624 million rands in the previous year. This comes as it reported a 5.7% decrease in rental income due to asset disposals and rental reversions at Four Ways malls. Despite the challenges, though, the company made progress operationally. However, this didn't translate into its bottom line. Operationally, though, it's reduced its overall vacancies from 21.1% to 19.4%. Four Ways Mall saw an improvement with vacancies dropping from 19% to 13.7%. The rental collection rate remained strong at close to 99% despite ongoing economic pressures. Now, in line with its strategy, Accelerate disposed of 8 assets for 694 million rands and has identified further disposals. But given the company's financial performance, no payout was declared for the year.
Lastly, Ndauling, just recap for us how we closed at the end of last week and the kind of tone that has been set by those markets that have begun trading.
So reflecting on U.S. markets first, stocks closed the week in the green as upbeat earnings and as uncertainty around tariff policy somewhat subsided. The Nasdaq led the gains, closing almost 1% higher in Friday's session. Meanwhile, the JSE closed at a record high last Friday, with the all-share up 0.2%, driven primarily by strong performances in commodity-linked shares. Higher commodity prices also boosting the rand this morning. It's steady against the dollar, sitting at 17.72 to the greenback. Oil remains under pressure, sitting just above the $63 per barrel. And then lastly, in Asia, stock markets are trading mostly higher, following the positive cues from Wall Street, and this amid increasing optimism about the US Fed cutting interest rates based on some of the economic data, the weak economic data we've received over the last 2 weeks.
All right, you've heard from Dowling for the first time this week. That means your money is on the move and your week has well and truly started. Dowling will be back with another update just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
Hey Raz, good morning to you. Advocate Sipho Mantula with the Africa Update. Raz, let's start with the twists and turns of this court battle between the family of the late former Zambian President Edgar Lungu and the government of that country. On Friday, there was an outcome, and within hours, we were told that the family actually intends to appeal that outcome.
Refreshing morning to us. Indeed, to us, this is a very interesting case if one looks at how African courts interpret what we call cross-border funeral rights. Others are saying, how do you put cultural, constitutional, and national consideration on the transnational legal dispute? Now, the family Thulas has said that, there was no agreement between them and the government. Hence, they are taking this matter to the Supreme Court of still going to Free State now. They are raising the issues also that the law that was applied using the Zambian law, it was also lacking sufficient evidence can justify that legal context. And that's how you see this case panning out to us, that the judgment came and saying the body must be repatriated to Zambia for burial and the family must also observe those cultural rituals. But as you have said, within few minutes or an hour, the family already prepared the appeal documents to us to say that they will not allow for the government of Zambia to can conduct that national funeral for the former president Edgar Lungu. So this is a very interesting, I think, for our listeners and law students who are listening to us, for them is to look at these issues, how will they play out even at the Supreme Court of Appeal. We might also end up in the Constitutional Court, but I don't know to us for how long will Edgar Lungu's body still be in the mortuary.
What a debacle.
How do we manage it?
What a debacle, Sipho. And I expressed the wish, I think weeks ago, that for me, I just think that there must be a way. Someone out there must be able to broker some kind of agreement between these parties that would afford this former president the dignity of a burial befitting of a person of that stature. Because, as you say, right now we're dealing with a choice of law, conflict of laws. Which law is applicable?
Yeah. And then to us, finally, maybe the mediation efforts that have been tried by the former heads of state in the SADC region have been there, to be honest with you. Probably the issue of blanket amnesty. I think maybe the government should have said, we are giving the family a blanket amnesty because the men who are now pursuing silent feet, to last silent feet, it is no more. Why are they pursuing the Lungu family now? And I think that's how we can say if they can reach that cul-de-sac just for the national interest of Zambia and one nation and one Zambia.
Sure, and that's the mantra in Zambia. Anyway, let's move on, Sipho. Talk to me about these protests out in Abidjan. What's that about?
Thulas, as you know, Bagbo is going for the fourth term. And now there was a protest over the weekend calling of enough is enough, no true democracy without true justice. Now, the millions of many people are saying that you can't have Alassane Ouattara actually to us, not Bagbo, because Bagbo also is calling to contest. Actually, people are saying no to Alassane Ouattara and yes to Bagbo and Tiam, those who have also been calling to contest these elections. Now, people have said that we don't want the fourth term and include all candidates who were excluded to us, and they are saying at the age of 83, he was able to remove the presidential term limit, if you can recall, to us in 2016. Now, this is calling for another West Africa uproar that we saw. We remember during the Macky Sall period, also delayed elections, but there we saw Ousmane Sonko. Now we see Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast also heating up in terms of their presidential elections, and people calling for Alassane Ouattara not to go for the fourth term.
And then one of the bodies of governance in the AU, the Peace and Security Council, tell me about the mission and the work that they are undertaking to South Sudan amid their warnings of the potential for a full-scale war.
Tula, this is a very important fact-finding mission, or what you can say, the field visit, the high-level meeting of the Peace and Security Council that has started yesterday until tomorrow in Juba. As part of looking at the revitalized agreement on the resolution of conflict in the southern Sudan, you remember Riek Machar is still being under house arrest. There's still a tension within Salva Kiir security cluster, the Tulas. So this meeting, it is to engage on the immediate cessation of hostilities between the SPLM in opposition as well as the government of the South Sudan. We have a conflict in the north, we also have a conflict in the south, Tulas, which is factional also if you look at the dynamics of the Sudan conflict, but how the Peace and Security Council under the AU chairperson that is taking it head on can resolve this crisis in the South Sudan. Very disappointing to us about that. The South Sudan has been having many high-level visits. You have the panel of the wise, now you have the Peace and Security Council. You have many missions that are there to us, and you ask yourself, what is holding on the South Sudan not to have elections, and even the issues of peace process in both the Sudan.
Lastly, Sipho, your historical archive, the 11th of August, 1998. We were at the height of the Mandela presidency. Tell me what happened on this day.
Absolutely, Thulas. It's 27 years ago, but let me twist it again. It's almost 30 years also when South Africa recognized the state of Palestine. Now, this was the visit of the late Yasser Arafat in Cape Town, Thulas, on his first state visit to South Africa, the invitation of the former president, Nelson Mandela. This visit was very important. You will recall that it caused controversy to us amongst other nations and amongst other groups. But Mandela also awarded him the Order of the Merit Excellence class for foreign citizens. Arafat did the same. He gave Mandela the Star of the Holy Jerusalem. We know Arafat passed away on the 11th of November 2004. So this was an important meeting of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO, and the Palestinian National Authority President, the late Arafat, to engage with South Africa. And we are still caught up in this Middle East issue to us at the ICJ, at the diplomatic level, but at a historical lens. Here, this is what happened 27 years ago. Asante sana Thulas, as we're still in the conversation, SFM observing the Women's Month.
All right, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mantula with the Africa Update for today.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, the 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's coming up to 14 minutes to 7. The National E-Hailing Federation of South Africa, NEFSA, says it's deeply concerned about what it calls the unchecked proliferation of e-hailing platforms in South Africa and sub-Saharan Africa. The organization says while new entrants claim to offer alternatives to dominant global players, they consistently fail to address the fundamental rights, protections, and long-term well-being of the very people powering the industry, that is drivers and operators. Let's speak to Della Masakale, who is the national spokesperson of the National E-Hailing Federation of South Africa, NEFSA. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Outline for us the kind of working conditions that you are complaining about. Do they relate, for example, to the statutory registration and the status of contracts of drivers and operators?
Thank you for having me, Thulasizwe. As the national spokesperson of the National E-Hailing Federation of South Africa, I'm here today to speak on an issue affecting thousands of South Africans. who keep our cities moving but remain invisible when it comes to rights, protection, and fair opportunities. We've just released a national press statement because while there's been a boom in e-hailing platforms, from international giants to local startups like InDrive, Shuma, Shesha, Vanatu, Taxi, and now Twitch, and others, the reality on the ground is that the drivers and operators powering this industry are still trapped in exploitative conditions. On the issue of labor registration, let me give you hard truth. 91% of drivers and operators in our metros and secondary cities aren't even registered for basic labor protections like UIF or QUADA. That means if they're injured on the job or lose income, they have no safety net. Worse still, 87% have no formal contracts. Instead, they're labeled as independent contractors so that platforms can avoid providing benefits, dispute resolution, or bargaining rights. It is a deliberate loophole, and it's keeping thousands of workers in the shadows.
Tella, there's expectations that you're talking about, the registration for COIDA, UIF, and the like, and other protections that you're talking about. Are they being undermined, as you say, by the classification? Because my understanding, as you rightly say, drivers and operators are classified as partners. So I don't know what the contract looks like. Does it look like a partnership contract, or is it an employment contract by another name?
That is where the border contention is. We are called partners. However, we aren't treated as partners. Partners share dividends in profits. Partners sit on a round table and discuss issues like normal partners. We are treated as mere employees. Matter of fact, not even employees, because the contract states independent contract. If we were actually employees, we'd be protected by QUADA benefits, but we don't even have none of those. So hence, we are being exploited. And we are calling on the government to act swiftly on regulations, specifically the Department of Employment and Labor.
Yeah. So let's then talk about the entry into the market of these new domestic and regional players that are coming into the e-hailing and app-based ride-sharing services. Tell me how that is weighing in on the issues that we're talking about, how the drivers are treated, the security that they enjoy, and the likes. Is it that the international big established players have been able to do things the way they've done, such that it opens up that even the new players basically can get in and continue with business as usual?
Yes. The arrival of these new apps is not progress in itself. The real progress means structural change, strong regulation, and unity among all platform workers, no matter which app they drive for. Hence, we are calling on the Department of Employment and Labor, Transport, and the Competition Commission. We're saying they should act now because they are the regulators of the industry. For as long as the Department of Employment and Labor, Transport, and the Competition Commission don't act, there will always be these exploitative tendencies by these app companies, whether local or international. Hence, we are calling for this action now.
And speaking of action, you have this mass action and strike that you have looming in the horizon. You had not set a firm date for it. Is this one of the issues that you are adding to it, in addition to the other issues that you had raised about the registration and deregistration of vehicles, some of them still under finance? And when can we expect you to make a firm decision on whether or not to proceed with that strike?
Well, we're still deliberating. One of our affiliate partners, such as the Western Cape, is still deliberating tomorrow with their counterparts. However, we will have a date probably within next week. But if I may just mention, as our plan, NESA isn't just raising alarms. We're driving solutions. We're working with sector partners to create a national empowerment framework that will formalize drivers as sustainable micro-entrepreneurs, give them access to vehicle finance and ownership, provide digital literacy and skills training, link them to small MME development opportunities. We want the gig economy to be a bridge to empower, especially for the unemployment graduates, youth, and informal workers, not just a dead-end hustle. So this isn't just a South African problem. It's a global problem. That's why we're building towards the 2026 ILO Convention on Platform Worker Rights. We want proper legal classification of drivers, fair earnings frameworks, decent working conditions and safety standards, data transparency from platforms. Hence, we're calling for this next action nationally and internationally, calling also on all our solidarity partners.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Stella Masakale, who is the national spokesperson of the National E-Hailing Federation of South Africa.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, if you're on your way to Durban, there's quite a backlog coming off Cliffdale down to Key Ridge. That is a crash before the M13 split from Cliffdale. It's quite heavily backed up going into that scene. Just staying in Durban, the M2 is extra busy this morning on the run from the M7 through the works at Westwood Mall. That's an earlier breakdown in amongst the roadworks just north of Spaghetti Junction. And the M7 looks quite heavy from Hunstepman all the way up to the M3 and then up over St John's Avenue Bridge territory. Very busy run into Pinetown again today. Joburg, the Mike 1 running north is heavy from Boyson's, Gold Reef City, in fact, all the way to Empire Road. The N3 queuing north from Elan's interchange, already through to Galuli's. It's jam-packed. And a busy Monday as you come out of Pretoria down through Route 1. No obstructions on the N1, but it is full of traffic between Bruckfontein and the New Road exit. Driving into Cape Town, the N2 inbound, quite heavy to Mowbray Main Road. The N1 from around Old Oak Road in the Belleville area, going to pick up a queue right through to Sable Road. And the M5 is already under pressure coming up from Ottery, going to sit all the way through to the Barclay Road exit in the Maitland area. Baden-Powell Drive, worth a mention as well, coming through from Mitchell's Plain. Quite a heavy backlog into Strandfontein Road. There are some problems with the timing of the traffic light arrows at that particular junction. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Do you know what's hiding behind colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org by 30 September.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
5 minutes to 7. The African National Congress's plan to expand the Government of National Unity has hit resistance from one of its current partners, that is the Freedom Front Plus. The ANC's move to quote-unquote DA-proof the coalition by adding more parties is seen by critics as a survival tactic to maintain its hold on power amid rising tensions with the DA, its largest coalition partner in the GNU. The development has exposed deepening fractures within the coalition, just as the ANC seeks to shore up parliamentary support after the recent budget battles that we saw unfolding in the last few months. Let's speak to Corne Mulder, who is the leader of the Freedom Front Plus. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. So the official communication from the ANC's National Executive Committee says they resolved to reset the GNU and mandated the officials to engage with current GNU partners to broaden participation. What about that concerns you, as well as the explanations that have happened and expansion of what that entails, including conversations and the door being potentially opened to people who are not necessarily within the GNU framework at the moment?
Let me first of all say that I still believe that the Government of National Unity is the right way to go currently in South Africa. We need to have a Government of National Unity. And I also agree that the Government of National Unity should be reset. But reset does not mean to bring other partners into the coalition. Reset should mean that we should sit down with the current parties within the Government of National Unity and work out the way that we can effectively operate as a Government of National Unity, which is currently not the case. We are not going to reset the Government of National Unity just to bring in other partners to continue in the wrong way that we are doing at the moment.
Why not, though? If the entry and the doorway into this government of national unity is committing to the principles that are enshrined in the statement of intent, and another party says, actually, I have buy-in for this, why not welcome them into the fold?
The problem is not the principles that we've agreed upon. The problem is the functioning of a government of national unity and the way that it's not functioning effectively. If there's commitment from all the parties within the government of national unity, we will function in a different way. And the party, the largest party always in the government of national unity or a coalition, should set the example. At the moment, the ANC is setting exactly the wrong example. All that they are trying to do is to co-opt other parties and to get other parties to give them the necessary majorities to push their own agenda through. Their own agenda can never be the agenda of a government of national unity.
Is that where things are not functioning as efficiently as they should, according to your perspective? Because the ANC's perspective is that there are attempts to manipulate and basically, at times, hold the entire coalition at ransom, and they will point a finger at the DA and say the attempt to wield undue and disproportionate influence in how matters unfold.
No, it's exactly the opposite. It's exactly the opposite. If you take, for example, in the executive, the ANC has claimed for themselves more than 60% of the positions which are not entitled to. So it's exactly the opposite. The ANC is the one trying to manipulate the process and to stick to their guns and force their own outdated, failed economic policies, their old, outdated international relations policies through to the detriment of South Africa, and they just want to bind the other parties within the government of national unity. What I am appealing to the ANC and the other parties is let's sit down, let's use the mechanisms in the government of national unity to really take South Africa forward and to get around the table and take things forward. That's not happening at the moment. The leaders are not meeting sufficiently enough. The deadlock-breaking mechanism has not even met once this year. We are in August now. There are many challenges, but those kind of structures do not operate. And I think the answer does not lie into bring into the coalition other parties just to expect them to give the necessary numbers to push certain things through. That is not the solution.
And just lastly, Mr. Mulder, the policy platform of the Government of National Unity, where does that stand? I remember that there was going to be this work that was being coordinated by the Minister Marupin Ramokgopa, to try and have a proper policy platform and agenda that everyone can sign up to. And I think that work was concluded, but I'm not sure the extent to which it's being implemented.
It's not being implemented, and that's exactly the problem. A government of national unity or a coalition can only function if there's agreed upon policy platform and everybody buys into it. If that is not the case, then what are we doing? Then everyone is doing all what they wanted to do in the past. They just stick to their guns and they try to muster the necessary support to push their own ideas through. Everyone has got to make some compromises, be that the ANC, be that the DA, be it the Freedom Fund Plus. We are prepared to do that, but then we really need to take this seriously. I believe we are not doing so.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time. That's Corne Mulder, who is the leader of the Freedom Front Plus. Let's go straight to Dineo Motaung with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
Thank you. Tula's top story is accused of Soweto Charles murder to plead guilty and rising concern as Israel intensifies Gaza offensive. A very good morning. A man accused of raping and killing a 6-year-old girl is expected to plead guilty when the case resumes in the High Court in Johannesburg today. Peter Simelane is facing charges of kidnapping, rape, murder and contravention of the Immigration Act. The little girl went missing in Orlando West in Soweto in October last year. Her body was found at the accused shack. She had been raped and murdered. The accused remains in custody after abandoning his bail application in previous court appearances. In other news, the presidency says preparations for the first national convention of the National Dialogue process comply with the Public Finance Management Act. UNISA will host a convention on the 15th and 16th of this month on its Pretoria campus at No Cost. The presidency says that funding comes from existing NADLEC and presidency budgets, while some goods and services are donated. 7 leading foundations have withdrawn from the National Dialogue, citing concerns over rushed planning, loss of citizen leadership, and a lack of transparency in the preparation process. Presidential spokesperson Vincent Magwenya says efforts are being made to minimize the cost.
The reduced cost associated with the hosting of the National Dialogue and the funding plan are done with the intention to reduce the cost to the fiscus. The presidency is committed to supporting the first national convention to kickstart the citizen-led and inclusive national dialogue. All procurement and management of public funds will adhere to the PFMA and applicable treasury regulations. All funds will be accounted for through the normal public finance mechanisms.
Moving to Mpumalanga, the family of a slain police officer in Skumansdal is calling for justice. Lawrence Mchweni was gunned down while attending to a business burglary on Friday. His widow, Gugu Mchweni, says they are now living in fear.
I heard gunshots at night. It felt like they were shooting here in the house because our home is very close to where the incident happened. My wish is that the suspects are arrested and given life imprisonment. We are also living in fear now.
In Limpopo, the construction of a road between Morebeng village and Sikhosese has stalled after the contractor abandoned the project. The 32-kilometer road construction project was commissioned in 2017. The Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure Department has confirmed that the contractor was paid 400 million rand. 3 years ago, the roads agency in Limpopo assured President Cyril Ramaphosa that the project would be completed timelessly, but this hasn't happened. Some of the residents say the poor state of the road has negatively affected their lives.
We have been subjected to this road for about 4 to 5 years. They have not completed building the road. Contractors have come and left. The contractor left in 2019. They said they still need to do road markings, but just vanished. We want this road to be completed. I used to work on site. They left without paying us. A lot of cars have been damaged. It is a big problem.
Lastly, further afield, Israel has come under sharp criticism at the UN Security Council in New York over the widening of its offensive in Gaza. UN officials have warned that the move will open another horrific chapter in the conflict. The Palestinian envoy Riyad Mansour has called for tougher sanctions against Israel, but the US representative Dorothy Shear has defended Israel's right to decide its security strategy.
Remarkably, instead of pressuring Hamas, members of this body have encouraged and rewarded its intransigence, actively prolonging the war by spreading lies about Israel, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and the United States.
Recapping the top story, the Sawa, a man accused of raping and killing a 6-year-old girl, is expected to plead guilty when the case resumes in the High Court in Johannesburg today. Headlines at 7:30 for SFM News. I am Dinomo Daung.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
Breaking news just in. Pinky, a 60-year-old woman, slashed 870 Rand a month off her car insurance premium. That's right. Pinky switched to Outsurance and now saves a mind-blowing 870 Rand a month on her 2020 Kia Seltos 1.6. Outsurance clients always get something out. Get a quote today and see how much Outsurance could save you on your car insurance. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports headlines, we'll kick off with the Premiership and we'll start with Kaizer Chiefs off to a dream start with their new signing. Stealing the spotlight, 2-0 was their win. And we also bring you Bafana Bafana bracing for Chan history. We'll bring you the details just before 7:30.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Morning, it's a busy Monday as we come slowly out of Pretoria down through Midrand. Traffic just sitting between Brockfontein Interchange and New Road, jam-packed across all lanes through there. The Mike 1 North stays under pressure from Ormonde right up to Empire Road, and some delays coming out of Benoni this morning. And 12 all convoying slowly down towards the Atlas Road exit. That looking very slow. We'll keep an eye on that one for you. A lot of traffic on that route through. Crash at Key Ridge that we've been reporting. That is Durban bound, still causing a big pushback almost to Cliffdale. That's quite a heavy queue for Durban bound motorists. The N2 a breakdown after Spaghetti Junction this morning, so extra delays as you route up from the M7 into the works at Westwood Mall area. And Cape Town pretty heavy on the highways. The N1 from Belleville through to Sable Road, the N2 from the airport all jammed up to Mowbray Main. The M5 is queuing from Ottery up to Barclay Road in Maitland, and the M3 from Constantia. That's under pressure all the way up through Bishop's Court towards Paradise Road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's just gone 8 minutes after 7 on this Monday. It is great to be in your company. This is the second hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Among some of what we will cover in this hour, dialogue about the dialogue. We'll be talking to Vincent Magwenya, the presidency spokesperson, just in the wake of assurances by President Cyril Ramaphosa that the National Convention, which is the first major step of the national dialogue process, will go ahead starting this coming Friday and happening over the weekend, despite the withdrawal of some high-profile legacy foundations that had been part of the preparatory task team. Vincent Magwenya will talk to us in the next few minutes, including addressing issues that have to do with concerns about the budget, right? Many South Africans saying when they heard about 700 million rand or thereabouts, expressing the concern that it is too much. And I see that in the statement of the legacy foundations. Part of what they're complaining about is that there is no fixed budget, and it's difficult to carry out work in those circumstances. So that conversation with Vincent Magwenya coming up in the next few minutes. And then immediately after that, we talk ghosts of the past that are now coming back to haunt Gayton McKenzie. Tweets from many years ago, some of them older than a decade, have resurfaced and causing quite a great deal of controversy. They do include tweets that are derogatory and also that make reference to the K word in reference to black South Africans. So we'll be talking to Solimu Wing at about 20 past 7. He is a reputation management strategist, but also importantly, part of Action SA. That's one of the parties that have taken this up quite vociferously and energetically, and want the South African Human Rights Commission to get involved. One of the curious things for me, at least, is how on earth were these tweets missed over the years? What? What? From 2011, 2013, 2015, how were these tweets missed all those years ago? And I wonder how that happened. I'm not on Twitter, so that's my defense. I don't know what the defense of other people is. But yeah, here we are. They're now coming back to haunt Gayton McKenzie with calls for him to be removed. In it all, please do engage. Let's talk. Give me a call on 086 000 2032, or send me a WhatsApp voice note on 0614 104 107. Let's get the second hour of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief underway.
The boardroom heat is on and the pressure is rising. The Insurance Apprentice, hosted by the one and only Babi Moloi, is delivering drama, tough decisions, and big personalities every week. Expect bold moves, emotional twists, and contestants you'll either root for or roast. And yes, you'll be surprised what you learn about insurance along the way. Open up to the Insurance Apprentice, Thursdays at 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
The Morning Brief
with Thulasizwe Simelane.
11 minutes after 7. Pressing full steam ahead. The show must go on. I thought I told you that we won't stop. I said earlier on, pick your expression, but the effect is the same. President Cyril Ramaphosa insists the National Convention, the first major act of the national dialogue process, will proceed as planned this coming Friday, with or without the high-profile legacy foundations that withdrew recently over their concerns about the process. Here to talk to us more about that is presidential spokesperson Vincent Magwenya. Good morning to you, Vincent, and thank you for your time. So you will have seen, of course, the concerns expressed by the legacy foundations that have now withdrawn. Part of what they were proposing is that the National Convention be postponed to later on in the year, perhaps in October, thereabouts. Why was the president not amenable to that?
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning to your listeners. Thulasizwe, the president did dedicate a fair amount of time to engage with the entire PTT team with the sole purpose of trying to resolve their concerns. Part of the challenge here, Thulasizwe, is that invitations had already gone out. Delegates were preparing themselves to participate. Over 500 or so delegates had confirmed their participation. And so the request or the demand for postponement came at a rather unfortunate time when preparations had been made and had covered some ground. So it was going to be a major inconvenience to those individuals, over 500 of them, who have confirmed their participation, to now be told that there is a postponement.
But part of the concern that is being expressed, and I wonder if, on a balance, the president believes that it's worth going ahead, even in light of these concerns, and whether or not he considers the concerns to be legitimate. For instance, the concern that says you are working on rushed timelines, constrained logistics, and limited interactive design, basically saying that that means that the proposed convention no longer offers a meaningful platform for engagement, but rather it risks being symbolic rather than substantive. So talk to those elements, those concerns, including the concern that says this process is now no longer bottom up as was intended, citizen-led initiative, but it's becoming, government controlled process.
No, Thulasizwe, let's first understand what is the role of government. The role of government is twofold. One, it's only the president that has the constitutional mandate to convene a national dialogue. Therefore, government has the responsibility to facilitate the process. That includes providing funding, a significant portion of funding, in order to enable the process. And so that then goes that you will have a reasonable amount of participation and government involvement in terms of the process, in terms of overseeing various elements of the process, as well as ensuring that public funds are spent properly in accordance with the PFMA rules. Secondly, all of those issues were ventilated at length, and they were discussed at length. On the balance of facts before the president, he was satisfied that with respect to the state of readiness, we are ready to proceed with the national convention. And lastly, Thulasizwe, we're talking about 7 or so foundations. The majority of other foundations that are not being cited in headlines, as well as over 100 civil society organizations, expressed their satisfaction with the level of state readiness when they were briefed. Admittedly, an undertaking or an endeavor of this scale may have teething problems there and there, which the president accepts and has said where we have been criticized, we will take full responsibility. But what we cannot do, we cannot issue invitations, secure in-kind support and sponsorships, get preparations underway, and then say, oh no, we're not sure that we can proceed, therefore we must postpone. This is the first convention. It's not the actual national dialogue. The convention is going to provide a roadmap of the form and other processes of the actual dialogue. So let's get the kickoff underway and not delay that. By the time we get to the second convention, we'll have learned some lessons, we'll have made some improvements, and the process will be going ahead.
So how much is the budget for this this whole process? Because that's one of the concerns coming through from the foundations that, as far as they can see, they're working without an actual confirmed budget. A number of figures have been cited, starting from 800 million rand, 700 million rand, and I saw in reporting over the weekend 452 million rand or thereabouts. Can you put us out of our misery so that we know what exactly are we working with?
Well, Thulasizwe, that's where the challenge is, that those numbers have never been accepted or mandated from a government perspective. Then figure of over 700 million or 800 million came from some of the foundations, and immediately there was a great deal of discomfort on the side of the president and government, for that matter, that it was going to cost this much. Secondly, that discomfort was primarily caused by the fact that we had some unknown knowns, if you like. We were not quite certain, or we had not concluded as to how the dialogue will roll out in communities and districts and so on. And the task to determine that was then left to the National Convention. It's only after the National Convention has concluded the final roadmap of how the actual dialogue will roll out can we then work towards a final number. So as we speak, we do not know what the final budget cost will be for the national dialogue, because we've not finalized the actual details of how many districts will be covered, what facilities will be required.
That's problematic,
what
though,
can we
Vincent, is it
secure
not?
from in-kind support.
That's problematic, is it not? You in government specialize in planning and budgeting for processes. You can't, if you can't quantify it, how can you pull it off? How can you implement it effectively and efficiently and allay the fears of South Africans that this will be an overly expensive exercise?
We can allay the fears of South Africans that even now with the National Convention, we've managed to reduce the cost quite significantly.
What is the cost?
We have secured a lot of the elements of the National Convention to be sponsored or rather in-kind support.
With the result that what is the cost for the National Convention, for example?
Well, at the conclusion of the National Convention, we will report on that figure to us. The point I'm trying to make to you is you want us to put the cart before the horse, so to speak. So government must determine the budget and preempt the outcome of the National Convention. There again, government will be accused of hijacking and controlling the process. Let's let the convention finalize how the process is going to play out. Then we attach numbers once that process has been finalized. And you know what? We'll come to South Africans and report on that and report on that final figure. It's unfortunate that false numbers have been bandied about, which has kind of mired the process into some kind of overspending.
Sure.
That's not going to happen. The president is insisting that that's not going to happen.
I do need to let you go, Vincent, but I have to press you on this. Perhaps it's my lack of understanding of how these things work. What you are talking about after the event, the National Convention, sounds to me like accounting for expenditure, however minimal expenditure that will already have occurred. What I'm asking you about is a budget that says, right, these are the logistics. This is what we need to do. These are how many delegates are coming. This is where we're putting them up. This is how they are traveling and they're getting here. This is sponsored, so therefore the budget line is zero. I think that's the ordinary way of doing it.
No, Thulasizwe,
yeah.
Thulasizwe, this is how it works in government. You will have a budget allocation, right? You will spend out of that allocation and then you will report what you've spent on, right? So what do we have now? We have a small tranche of no more than 25 million that has been advanced to Netleg for the purposes of the convention. Out of that 25 million, more than 60% of that spend has already been covered in sponsorship and in-kind support. So you talk about transport, that will be provided at no cost. Accommodation has been significantly reduced to government rates. Venues, catering, all sorts of things that are required for the actual convention, as we've said in our statement, all covered in in-kind support. And so I can't give you that number when we are busy mobilizing sponsorship and we are significantly reducing the spend. That's number one. So lastly, number two, after the national convention, we're going to report two things. We're going to say this is how much in total we ended up spending on the national convention or not spending. Then we're going to say we're now going to work on a process based on the outcome of the national convention to then finalize the total cost, because we now know how the dialogue is going to roll out in communities, in districts, etc.
100%. Thank you for your time this morning, Vincent. And I think we did get something out of that conversation. That's Vincent Magwenya, Presidency spokesperson.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
The SABC is pleased to announce the launch of the new self-registration platform. Vendors wishing to do business with the SABC can self-register on our internally developed platform. Vendors are able to access this platform on our website. That's sabc.co.za/SABC under e-tenders, or self-register at e-tender. That's E for the letter E, tender. .sabc.co.za and follow the prompts. Visit SABC social media pages for more details.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
24 minutes after 7, the African Transformation Movement has formally filed a complaint calling for the urgent investigation and removal of Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Gayton McKenzie, citing resurfaced social media posts that they deem racist and offensive toward black South Africans. The matter, raised with Parliament, the Presidency and the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Ethics, has sparked a broader political and social outcry across party lines. Let's speak to Solimo Weng, who is a reputation management strategist, also part of the leadership team at Action SA. Good morning to you, Soli, and thank you for your time. Your approach, the way I understand it, is you are approaching the South African Human Rights Commission as Action SA. What about these tweets makes you believe that the Human Rights Commission should be involved?
Well, I mean, that's a body that is currently mandated to deal with these sort of things. That we could either go and knock on people's doors and break them down, or you follow the process of the law, and that's the way to do it. I think nobody can deny that what has been said, even if it's old stuff, is very, very concerning. I mean, even Mahatma Gandhi said things many, many years ago that turned people away from loving him. Decades later, these things stay, especially, when you're on the receiving side of slurs like this, you can't be told just move on, forget about it, because all these slurs signify something important from the past.
Let's talk about how these tweets are coming to the fore. It was in the wake of the controversy around that Open Chat podcast and the role that Gayton McKenzie was playing in ensuring that there's follow-through and consequence management therein. And in the ensuing debate, then he was, the way I understand it, he's being called out for his hypocrisy, to say, you're a fine one to talk, having said the kinds of things that you have said in the past. How does that sit together with the insistence on justice and consequence management for those other players, those other actors from the open chats? Is it a way, as some might argue, a diversion from that issue so that we focus on Gayton McKenzie?
Yeah, there'll always be, in politics, you'll always find attempts to divert, isn't it? It's a very opportunistic area to play in. But the thing is, if you've said and if you've done things in the past that still merits to be put under spotlight. I think they will be put under. A lot of people have gotten into trouble for things they did. They said years ago things that had been hidden until somebody dug them up and put them, into the public at the right time, at an opportune time. And this is exactly what's happening. But nobody should be absolved from this sort of thing. I think if I were in McKenzie's role, instead of digging in, I would just say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said stuff like that. But he's not, and he's not the kind of person who's going to say I'm sorry very easily. But some people, the hurt is serious. But is there a level of opportunism? Well, there'll always be a level of opportunism.
Let's talk just from your professional perspective as well. What does this bring to the fore in terms of how you behave on social media now going into the future, and how you try and reinvent yourself? Because part of the story from a brand perspective of Gayton McKenzie that has been sold quite successfully has been a story of redemption from a past that he has to a future that he is building and seeking to show that it is possible to gain redemption.
Yeah, look, what you should all know is that everything that we put also on social media, everything that gets set up on us, that gets reported, it's on TV, radio, it goes into a stockpile, a stockpile that could serve as an arsenal that could be used by you to show that you are consistent and you are reliable, you are the right guy, or it could be used as an arsenal against you to bring you down. We've seen that happen a lot in the past. It will continue to happen. I think that leaders, people who aspire for public presence need to be aware that everything they do just builds up to whatever they're going to end up being seen as in the future, and they have to be really, really careful. And if we make mistakes, apologize, but it's always better to apologize before things become roll-ball into a bigger thing. I'm saying that than to wait for that stuff to happen and then you find yourself on the back foot, you're not able to roll back. So I think McKenzie, anybody else, maybe should just make a generic apologies. Look, in the past I've said some really stupid things I shouldn't have said. I'm sorry. But he's like now saying, he's caught himself between, am I going to let another political party push me down, or am I going to stand as the leader of a political party? Yeah.
All right. I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Solimo Weng, Reputation Management Strategist, also part of Action SA.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning. Let's start with Kaizer Chiefs kicking off their 2025-26 Betway Premiership with a 2-0 win over 10-man Stellenbosch FC at Athlone Stadium last night. Elsewhere, Durban City collected 3 points in their Betway Premiership debut. 2-0 was their victory against TS Galaxy, and it all happened yesterday. Meanwhile, today, Bafana are back in action this afternoon. Kampala is where they are at. They face Guinea at the African Nation Championship. It's a first ever Chan clash between the two countries. In the meantime, Benny McCarthy's Kenya producing a 1-0 victory over two-time champions Morocco in Nairobi to remain unbeaten in the CAF African Nations Championship. In another match, Angola overturned a 1-0 deficit to beat Zambia 2-1. And Chelsea rounded off their pre-season prep with a 4-1 win over 10-man AC Milan at Stamford Bridge. Of course, let's go to golf, and it's Dean Burmester holding off John Rahm and Giselle Ballister in a playoff yesterday to win the Live Golf Chicago event. Here's Dean Burmester.
Got kind of lucky actually with my tee shot there, stopping in the rough. Kind of gave me a fuller shot in, and got the perfect little right bounce, and it went to 6.5 feet or whatever it was, and read it right to left, and I went right to left, and then went right and lipped in. So I was halfway through a fist pump, and then I had to pause and then have a second go at it. But yeah, the moment after the emotion of trying to win a golf tournament there's nothing sweeter than that. And then to have these two boys on the ends to kind of do it right behind me, and all three of us to birdie the playoff hole is special.
And finally, tennis action. Carlos Alcaraz recovered from losing the second set to beat Damo Zumor 6-1, 2-6, 6-3 to reach the round 32 at the Cincinnati Masters. Here's Alcaraz.
I started the match really well, feeling the ball pretty good, to be honest. But I feel here like if you just switch over your mind, just 1, 2, 3 points, everything goes even tougher to come back. So I just had to come back in the third set. But in general, I just wanted to feel much better in the next round.
And that's how we wrap it up. We'll swing back with more tennis and more sport. Top of the hour, I'm Zai Khan.
With headlines at 7:30, I'm Dino Montaung. Good morning. Action SA says crime has no expiry date. This follows Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Gayton McKenzie's alleged racist remarks in old social media posts. In other news, a man accused of raping and killing a 6-year-old girl is expected to plead guilty when the case resumes in the High Court in Johannesburg today. And a magnitude 6.1 earthquake has struck Western Turkey, killing one person and injuring dozens more in the province of Balıkesir. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Pretty heavy around the Brockfontein interchange, either getting to it or through it today. If you're on your way to Pretoria, the N14 is pretty extreme, even by its own sort of volumes. Coming up, there's big delays this morning from the R55 Pretoria West exit into Brockfontein interchange, and then beyond that to John Foster Drive. So that's your first problem on the N14. There's also a crash at Brockfontein interchange on the N1 North. So going to Pretoria after Old Joburg Road, that all gets heavily backed up, and southbound through Brockfontein all the way down towards Olifants is pretty heavy with Monday morning volumes. A lot of traffic on Route 1 today out of Joburg, Soweto through towards Gordon Road is backed up. There is a stationary vehicle there. Once you get past that Bayers Nordier round to Ravonia is pretty heavy. And there's some queuing pressure on the N17. Looks like roadworks are greeting you this morning as you come from Brackpan and Springs in towards the Rondebolt Road exit. So that's a very unusual queue. Unusual to see roadworks on a big highway this time of morning, but that's what the dealio is down there. Still very heavy from Cliffdale through to Keir Ridge. It's this earlier crash just before the M13 Hillcrest split that's got the traffic backed up on the Durban-bound carriageway. M13 approaching the top of Fields Hill, all jammed up through the Kloof area as well. And Cape Town, the R300 stuck in a very heavy backlog today from Delft, from Hindle Road, all the way to Van Riebeeck Road. The lights are out as you come off the R300 at Van Riebeeck Road and turn down into Stickland. It's the Labelle and Strand junction that's offline, so very heavy trying to get off the highway. And there's been a crash on the M3 driving inbound before Hospital Bend. That's a joined-up queue right back to Constantia side this morning, and heavy pressure into Stellenbosch. All your major approaches, R44, Adam Tusk coming off Baden-Powell, and through Kayamandi 304. All of those routes really quite extremely backed up. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again in Dowling. Let's talk company news in this segment. Let's start with Thungela Resources. Tell me about their expectations for earnings.
So the coal miner says it's had a tough interim period, warning that profits are going to plunge by as much as 85%. Now, it's pointed to unfavorable market conditions and costs associated with winding down its older coal mines. Thungela has had to take a 285 million rand hit. This is related to restructuring costs from the closure of its Grootehoop and Isibonelo mines, which are nearing the end of their operational lives. Now, this comes despite some operational efficiencies during the period, including the ramp up of the Elders underground mine and the development of the Zibulu North Shaft project. Now, more insights on its half-year performance will be released next Monday when it's out with results. Markets, in the meantime, not liking the update, sending Thungela shares down over 3%. Now, that share price has been under pressure for most part of the year, down 30% year to date.
And in other company news, I take it from the hints you've given me, and I'm putting two and two together, that Hulamin must be active in the can market, beverage cans and the likes.
Yeah, so they operate in the aluminium industry, supplying aluminium products, whether it's in the auto sector, engineering, or beverages market. And at the moment, they're betting on the beverages market. So the group is optimistic about its future after completing a 500 million rand investment in a wide body can production line. This move aims to capitalize on the growing demand for locally produced cans, reducing the company's reliance on export markets. By increasing its local footprint, Hulamin hopes to enjoy cost and logistics benefits as well as greater proximity to its customers. Now, the company's beverage can component segment is a stable part of its rolled products business, accounting for around 57% of sales. This figure is expected to rise to 60% after the wide-body can expansion. Now, Hulaman's investment is a response to the company's vulnerability to price volatility and shifting trade policies in its offshore markets. Despite facing challenges such as aluminium price volatility and operational disruptions, Hulaman is focused on completing product qualification with key customers and achieving commercial readiness, particularly at the wide body can production line it's just completed, and it's hoping that will be completed by the end of March 2026.
All right, lastly, Dowling, how are the markets looking at this hour?
Kicking things off in Asia, now stocks are in the green, and this comes even as there are concerns about U.S. inflation and as the U.S.-China trade truce deadline approaches with no solid deal as yet. The Japanese Nikkei leading the gains on that front, up 1.5%. And then traders in Wall Street eyeing similar moves with inflation data, U.S. inflation data out tomorrow. Ahead of that, futures sitting comfortably in positive territory. And then coming back home, the JSE fresh from record highs, the all share closing above the 100,000 point mark again, up 0.2% on the back of gains in commodities. Now that's also boosting the local unit, sitting steady at 1771 to the greenback this morning. And talking commodities, oil not faring well, kicking the week off in the red, down 0.5%. It's at $65 per barrel this morning.
Dowling, thank you. Let's talk to you one more time just after 8:30 here on the Morning Brief.
You are the poster child, the biggest saver we've ever had.
I decided that I would contact our insurance and let them work out what they could do for me.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, big saving. 2,794 Rand a month.
That's over 33,000 Rand a year.
And it was the easiest switch ever. Real people helping real people get real deals.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands.
What does you always get something out mean to you, Lorette?
Outsurance made it possible for us to live our dream to travel more with the money in our pocket that we save.
Let me know, what is it?
725. It was unbelievable. My husband, he sits there on the chair and he's just nodding his head and saying, yes, yes, yes. This is really not just an advertisement. This is really real.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's, and information online.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the art and heart of jazz. From the 26th, 27th, and 28th of September, Umu Sankare, Abapemu, Jasmia Horn, Silent No and the Noisemakers, Najbonk Trio, Michelle Ndinkyo Cello, Willem Siini, Gabby Mutuba, and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now. Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
20 minutes to 8. Let's take some of your voice notes and calls at this moment. I'm a bit distracted. There's a technical producer, Zelma Klib. Zelma, behave, please. It's a Monday, okay? We have a long way to go. Please, just behave. All right, someone here wants to talk about PSL games. It was the opening weekend for the PSL. Let's hear what's been happening. Who's happy? Who's unhappy?
Good morning to Thulasizwe Simelane. Just a quick question here. Just after the opening games of the PSL, I've noticed something. The emblem, the Betway Premiership emblem, which is printed on the arms of the kit. I've noticed something. It's on the right arm. I've noticed something. Sundowns sticker is gold and white, whereas the rest of the teams sticker is black and white or white and black, May you kindly ask Zaikan if she knows something about that?
Will do, definitely. We'll have to ask her. I wonder what that is about. So you're saying the Sundowns one is a different color, gold and black, whereas everyone else's is black and white. I didn't notice that, I must say. So we'll be sure to ask Zai to delve into it. I thought you were going to raise the issue of sponsorships, right? I see a number of teams that have more sponsors than they know what to do with. Sponsorships on the arm, sponsorships on the front of the shirt, sponsorships everywhere. And I wonder what the distribution criteria is and the attractiveness, I suppose, of sponsorship, because brands are attracted to brands that will promote them as well. So I thought that was part of what you were going to raise. Let me hear one or two people on Gayton McKenzie before I go to the calls.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. With regards to Gayton McKenzie, his mother is actually a Mosotho woman born and raised in the Free State province. So that makes him a black man just like you and I. Just because he grew up around colored people and he speaks the fluent Afrikaans style so fluently does not mean he's a colored. And I was having this conversation with my friends at the golf course who are actually colored and white, and they're also the same thing. That man is forcing himself on a race group because he has complex of inferiority. Daniel here in Bryanston.
Good morning, Mngoni. It's MVP. The real reason I hate politics, it's because they always play tricks on us. Are you telling me that Kenny did not know that Gayton McKenzie used to say such things about black people as a friend? Is it because Kenny has been kicked out of some positions in the organization, and now he's using this to level the grounds? I think so.
Yeah, thank you for that. I must say I've not seen the suggestion being made that these old tweets are coming to the fore at the behest and initiative of Kenny Gunene. What I did see, though, is Kenny Gunene's own tweets from the past, hugely problematic, also coming to the fore and being dug up, and he's also being confronted with those. But I didn't see the aspect that suggests that he's responsible for those, the Gayton McKenzie ones, coming to the fore. Let me go to the calls. Nomsa in Tshwane, good morning. The national dialogue on your mind this morning?
Morning, Thulasizwe. For some reason, listening to the caller, the spokesperson for the president, got my blood boiling.
Sure.
I don't understand. I don't get the point of the national dialogue. The ANC can't say that so many years into them being in the government, they don't know what South Africa needs or what the people of South Africa need. What do they promise us when they are busy campaigning for elections? What does the president say during his SONA every year? Those are the things that we need. We don't need to be wasting millions of rands that even now we see that it's not going to be accounted for. They don't know what the budget is. They are going, like that guy was dodging your question. We're not going to get an idea of where the money is going to go to. They're talking about accommodations. They're talking about food for people who don't even need. There are people who are homeless. There are people who are hungry every day. That's where the money needs to be going to. And I'm sorry for saying this, but I'm sure that if we were to do like psych evaluations in all of these people who are in power, we find that most of them are antisocial, because there is no way you can steal from the poor. People have jobs. The people in government have jobs. The people who are working in our municipalities, they have jobs. They get paid. They have roofs over their head. They have food. But they will be stealing money through tenders, money that is supposed to be given to the people who actually need it.
So, Nomsa, just to engage you a little bit, the way I understand it, and it's been presented as this is about the fundamentals of our society, not the annual programs, as in this year we're going to tackle X, next year we're going to tackle Y. In my own head, the way I've framed it is a few years ago with the National Development Plan being produced through a particular process. To me, the National Dialogue sounds like one of those where it's envisioning. Are we happy with where we are as a country? Are we happy to be a country founded on, the principles that we are founded on? What do we make of issues such as nationality, citizenship, So it to me, it sounds like more the fundamentals that we are going to be addressing, not the day-to-day programs and what it costs. I don't know if that wins you in any way.
It honestly doesn't. For me, it doesn't, because it's like now we are playing dumb to what this country needs. They know what this country needs. Everybody knows what this country needs. We know what the fundamentals are that we need this country to be built upon. I mean, now, whereas the government is made up of this government of national unity, where you have multiple political parties in government, can you say that amongst themselves they have no idea?
All right, Nomsa.
Let's
leave it there. That's Nomsa out in Tshwane. Let me take Crispin in Durban. Good morning to you, Crispin.
Sawubona, Thulasizwe.
Crispin.
I want to talk about terrorism.
Sure.
And we have a long and sorry history of the misuse of the term terrorism in South Africa. And there are people alive today who were incarcerated, who were never ever terrorists, who were completely nonviolent, but were put in prison in terms of the Terrorism Act. And I think we should use this term carefully. I want to apply it quite clearly to the state of Israel. In every way, Israel is now fully a terrorist state. The intentional violence during peacetime and in the context of war against non-combatants. This morning we learned that 5 Al Jazeera journalists have been killed by the IDF. That brings the total of journalists killed in Gaza to roughly 200 since the start of this attack. South Africa got it right from the beginning, while the West was generally running around like headless chickens, saying we mustn't have too much violence or whatever their line was. They are failing to face up to the fact that we are dealing with a terrorist state, a rogue state, and it should be treated accordingly. I think behind the West, the fundamental attitude of the West is still fundamentally racist and colonial. They think that you can give one group of people some limited rights to buy them off. So, for example, they're saying that the Palestinians can have a government, but it's got to fit in with what the West wants. That is nonsense. That's not liberation. That's colonialism.
Crispin, thank you for that. And of course, that issue in Israel and the plan by Israel for a takeover of Gaza City, it served before the UN Security Council, and the results were quite interesting, with overwhelming criticism by members of the Security Council, bar one or two, of course. In that particular conversation, and the killing of the journalists being the latest story that Crispin is alluding to. And I do believe that we will come back to that story in the coming days here on the show. Sive in Kabeja, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Thulasizwe. How are you?
Very well. How are you? Please go ahead.
I'm good. Thulasizwe, in 2011, we might have missed the tweets of Gayton McKenzie.
Hey, ganjani marasive.
No, but because he was not a real person. He was still trying to cleanse himself on this gangsterism and all of these things that you are saying he has been to rehabilitation. But in 2011, Gayton McKenzie was a full adult. He was aware of what he was saying.
No question about it.
Unfortunately, now he occupies a very senior government role, which is arts and culture. And I think we have downplayed the role of arts and culture to gain tickets. Arts and culture speaks to the belly of South Africa's life and past, language, and all of the cultural diversity of South Africa. And I think because of the role he now occupies, he needs to account for these particular opinion that he has said as an adult, similarly to that guy of the Democratic Alliance who once posted things and then they suffered. He was made to account, and that guy was just a simple committee person, but Gayton, he must be able to rise above and step aside and allow the national dialogue to reshape South Africa without him.
All right, Sive, thank you for that. That's Sive in Kabeja. Thomas in Newcastle, Kirk in Cape Town. If you don't mind, can I call you back? I do need to take Rob Byrne with the traffic.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Just want to give you a reminder of the protesting that erupted early hours this morning and continues at a pace. Barberton, Mpumalanga on the R40 and local routes. If you got any plans to go through Barberton, maybe do it a little bit later. You'll be able to get through, but these things can sort of escalate. You'll be able to get around the rocks and the tyres, but it may not be a comfortable trip for you through Barberton. So just sit tight, let the authorities deal with that. Looking pretty heavy on Joburg's N3 today from Elands all the way through to Modderfontein Road. The N17 arriving into Boksburg from Brakpan Springs. An unusual queue. There's some roadworks this morning coming towards Joburg. They caught you on Friday going out. They flipped over onto the inbound side, approaching Rondebowl. That's why the N17 is so heavy. A lot of congestion around Brakfontein interchange northbound. A crash there. So the N1 from Old Joburg Road and the N14 coming out from the Pretoria West exit, all very, very heavy and slow going around that interchange this morning. The crash at Key Ridge has been cleared, but you won't believe this. There's now a stationary truck there. So one incident clears, another arrives, and the net result is the traffic remains heavy from the Cliffdale side. Cape Town, no traffic lights. A couple of really big junctions out at Dunoon, which is also a fairly high crime rates along Malabongwe at the N7. There's no traffic lights, and motorists are sitting in very heavy traffic across that N7 bridge system. Lights are out on Stickland's Strand and Labelle. That's causing some localised congestion. Cales River, Stickland, but also badly impacting the R300. It's heavy this morning from Delft all the way up to that Cales River off-ramp. And an earlier crash on the M3 at Woolsack Drive, causing delays coming in from Constantia and forcing a lot of traffic onto the main road, which is heavy from Claremont through Newlands. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
It is time to experience spectacular football talent from 19 African nations. East Africa is on full vibration. From Tanzania, Kenya to Uganda, the pitch personnel are hungry for continental glory. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Witness Jan 2024 on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 from 2 to 30 August 2025. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
The only talk radio morning breakfast show that makes sense. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
I think it's safe to say that we're still feeling the ethical aftershocks of that video, that secretly recorded video showing the suspended Independent Development Trust IDT CEO Tebogo Malaka and the IDT's spokesperson allegedly offering a 60,000 rand bribe to an investigative journalist. And we're told that this could be pivotal in securing, that video in particular, could be pivotal in securing criminal charges. Legal experts debating the issue, and some of them saying that the authenticity and admissibility of the footage will be key if the matter proceeds all the way to court, while government and media stakeholders demand swift accountability. So lots to consider around that particular story. Let's get the views and insights of Ulrich Roux, who is the managing director of Ulrich Roux and Associates. Good morning to you, Ulrich, and thank you for your time. So there was a statement issued out by the Malaka Family Trust coming out in defense of the IDT CEO. And part of it has to do with questioning elements of that transaction. For instance, they talk about her not having offered a bribe, did not suggest one, did not take out the money or authorize the money. The cash was produced by the IDT spokesperson. Just looking at the video and knowing what we know from the telling of Peter Louis Myberg and how it was all set up, what do you make of the video as a piece of evidence potentially going to court?
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. Yes, I think the comments of the Malaka Trust and of the, on behalf of the CEO of the IDT are laughable, to say the least. She's saying that because she did not hand over the money, she cannot be implicated in any attempted bribe. Well, it was her spokesperson, and she flew together with her spokesperson from Johannesburg to Stellenbosch to meet with a journalist. It was clearly an amount of money handed over with her knowledge, and she will have to testify as to whether it was upon her direct instructions or not. But it is clear that she was intricately involved in the attempted bribe, and I think that any attempts by them to try and prove the contrary is going to count against her. If this matter does go to a criminal trial, then she will be called upon to testify and could seriously affect her credibility as a witness. Fact of the matter remains that she was intricately involved in that meeting, and that she, by the looks of it, knew at all times what was going to happen. Now, on the actual presenting of the video as evidence during a criminal trial, it is what we refer to as real evidence, as opposed to testimony by a witness. And the state will have to play the video in court, and then they will have to prove the authenticity of the video. In other words, they will have to lay the basis of why the video was made, what arrangements were made prior to that, what discussions between the journalist and the IDT CEO led to this operation being planned by them, and how it all came about. They will then also have to prove the authenticity. So in other words, that it is a real version of what transpired, that video was never tampered with, and that is a true reflection of the events as they unfolded on the day. So all in all, I think that the video evidence will be crucial, and I think that what we've read in the media, the journalist and the entire team involved in this deposed to affidavits under oath prior to the entire operation taking place. So it does seem as if they've checked all their boxes in order to be able to present this evidence in court, and I think it is going to be a big hurdle for the suspended CEO to overcome.
One of the other arguments that I saw out of that statement, Ulrich, talks to, in a way, what in law you call inchoate crimes, where the suggestion is that the crime was, even if there is a crime, it wasn't seen to completion. So, part of the statement reads, in law, there is no such offense as intending to bribe. What do you make of that argument in light of the provisions of the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act and what it provides for around gratification?
Yes, well, indeed, the act that we refer to as PRECA, or the Prevention of Corrupt Activities Act, does make provision for an attempted bribery and corruption charge. So I think that they have incorrectly quoted the law in that statement. But it is clear that she is in a position of authority, and that she attempted to coerce and bribe a journalist into not revealing damning evidence about possible corruption in a personal life, and the using of the IDT's funds in order to fund her personal lifestyle. So I think that to be honest with you, I don't think that their statement carries much weight. I think that they are clutching at straws, and there most certainly is accountability that will be apportioned to her as a result of this video and as a result of what took place.
Lastly, Ulrich, talk to me about the view that is taken of evidence in its totality. So the part of the argument is that nowhere in the video do you see her handling the money. It's the other person who handles it. But how do you approach that, taking in the comments, what's said before and after, and the whole setting as part of that video evidence, if it ends up being admitted into evidence at a later stage in a trial?
Yes, well, evidence cannot just be considered piecemeal. It must be considered as a whole. So as you correctly point out, all of the circumstances surrounding what transpired must be taken into account and will be presented in criminal court. Now, the fact of the matter is that, yes, she didn't personally hand over the cash amount, but the discussion between her and the journalist prior to that clearly points towards her, seeking a favor from the journalist in exchange for payment of money. So you cannot just look at the actual handing over of the cash in isolation. You must look at all of the surrounding evidence, what led to their meetings, what was said at the previous meetings, what led to, what discussions were held prior to the handing over of the cash, and all of that will be considered by the court. So, if she intends to rely just on the physical act of the handing over of the cash, I think she's going to be in trouble, to be honest.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time and your insights.
Thank
That's
you.
Ulrich Roux, Managing Director at Ulrich Roux and Associates. Let's go straight to Dineo Motaung with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
Thank you. Tula's top stories. McKenzie's alleged racist remarks spark outrage, and Operation Dudula trio to appear in court today. Good morning. Action SA says crime has no expiry date. This follows Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Gayton McKenzie's alleged racist remarks in old social media posts. They relate to apartheid-era slurs against black South Africans. The party has lodged a complaint against McKenzie with the South African Human Rights Commission. The EFF has called for his immediate removal as minister. Action SA MP Alan Bisley says McKenzie's comments do not represent what his office stands for, that of promoting unity in diversity.
If you stole money 10 years ago, you'd still be held to account now. So you can't say, I stole money 10 years ago, I'm not accountable. So racial slurs is a crime, whether it happened 10 years ago or whether it happened recently. I mean, people need to be held to account for those crimes, as with other crimes. The comments that he made were outrageous and they were sickening to the core. And I think if he had come out immediately and apologized, but he hasn't come out in that respect. He hasn't denied making the comments and he hasn't done a formal apology for those comments. But until that actually happens, we can't move forward.
In other news, a man accused of raping and killing a 6-year-old girl is expected to plead guilty when the case resumes in the High Court in Johannesburg today. Pete Simiao is facing charges of kidnapping, rape, murder and contravention of the Immigration Act. The little girl went missing in Orlando West in Soweto October last year. Her body was found at the accused shack. She had been raped and murdered. The accused remains in custody after abandoning his bail application in previous court appearances. We stay in the courts now, where 3 women arrested after storming the Lillian Ngoyi Clinic in Soweto are expected to appear in the Orlando Magistrates Court today. The women demanded identity documents from patients at the health facility. They were arrested on Thursday last week and are believed to be members of the civil society group Operation Dudula. There have been protests outside healthcare facilities recently. Undocumented migrants have been prevented from accessing medical care. Gauteng Police spokesperson Mavela Masondo.
Police were called to the medical care center after the suspects were locked in one of the labor wards, where the nursing staff and patients felt that their rights were violated by these individuals.
We move to Limpopo now, where the Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure Department says it has launched an investigation into an abandoned road project. The construction of a road between Morebeng Village and Sekhosese in Limpopo has stalled after the contractor abandoned the project. The 32-kilometer road construction project was commissioned in 2017. The department has confirmed that the contractor was paid 400 million rand. Emmanuel Mongwe is the spokesperson.
The budget for that construction or the project was amounting to about 400 million. I may not be able to specify on how much was paid to the contractor, but the project amount was 400 million. And what I can confirm now is that we are still investigating on the matter, on what should happen.
Lastly, further afield, a magnitude 6.1 earthquake has struck western Turkey, killing 1 person and injuring dozens more in the province of Balıkesir. The 81-year-old woman died after emergency teams rescued her from the rubble. The town of Sindegi is the epicenter of the earthquake. Recapping the top story this hour, Action SA says crime has no expiry date. This follows Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Gayton McKenzie's alleged racist remarks in old social media posts. Headlines at 8:30 for SAFM News. I'm Dineo Motaung.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
If you want to save on your car insurance premium, you call Outsurance, right? But what if you don't save? Well, they'll give you cash just for trying. You heard right. Just ask for 500 Rand cash. But wait, there's more. If you don't save and have been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years, you can ask them for 1,500 Rand cash. Savings or cash, you always get something out. Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports Headlines, rugby, the sensation Sasha Feinberg Ngomezulu wants to help the Boks win as many games as possible this season. And we also have Bafana. They are in action today, 4 p.m. against Guinea. And we'll bring you details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Study Centurion with quite heavy backlogging around the Brockfontein interchange. Crash in the interchange. So the N14 coming up from the Pretoria West exit towards Pretoria, and the M1 North after Old Joburg Road. Both of those routes into Brockfontein are heavily backed up. Crash on Allendale Road near Dane Road if you're leaving Kempton Park, Tembisa, across to Midrand, that's heavy. And some roadworks on the N17 at Rondebolt Road, causing a big delay in from Brakpan towards Joburg. Looks like you're squeezing into a single lane to get past that one. Durban bound at Key Ridge. The earlier crash has been cleared, but it's been replaced by a stationary truck. So net result, the N3 cliffed out of the Key Ridge remains heavy on your way to Durban. N2 still jamming up from the M7 through Westwood Mall, very slow on your way up through Spaghetti Junction this morning. And Cape Town, no traffic lights, couple of big junctions, Strand and LaBelle in Stickland. That's causing delays out from Van Riebeek Road coming up from Kales River into Stickland. Also badly backing up the R300 this morning from Delft, trying to get off at that exit. And the traffic lights are out at Malabongwe Drive on the N7 bridge system at Dunoon. There's some really heavy traffic, and that's quite a high crime rate area as well, so just be vigilant. And the M3 going in, an earlier crash at Hospital Bend means the M3 full of traffic through from Constantia side. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
What do you know? With that, we're into the third hour of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief. It is absolutely great to be in your company, and welcome to it. Let's reflect on some of the messages that have been coming through on a number of themes that we have covered, as well as any other themes really that are exercising your mind. Let me read a message from Mtunzi. Mtunzi says, if the government of South Africa is so upright and so well-meaning towards the Palestinians, why can't they take the money that will be used on the national dialogue and use it to buy supplies for the destitute and suffering Palestinians? I think this will honestly be an appropriate and befitting area to show seriousness if they really care about the situation there, instead of wasting money on a talk shop. So that's the sentiment from Mtunzi. Let me read a message from Jan in Cape Town. Jan says, it's said that we are arguing about whether people are on the black side of colored or white side of colored. Shows you that it will be a long time before we live in harmony. That message coming through from Jan in response to some of what was said about Gayton McKenzie in the ensuing debate. Part of it also talking about his own heritage, shall we call it that? His own heritage and lineage. Yes, that's the better word, lineage. So that's the view there from Jan. Let me just take this message. Okay, Mulder completely right. ANC captured by SACP years ago, pushing their socialist commie agenda. It's time they dragged themselves into the modern era, says one person. And then the same person says, Thulas, stop being an apologist for cancer. Cancer is in, how they write a small letter C, then capital ANC, then ER. You are embarrassing yourself, says this person. All right, I don't believe I need to respond to that. It is what it is. People have views, and it is what it is. This is a platform for the airing of views. Welcome to it. This is the third hour of the morning brief. I'll be taking your calls in the next few minutes.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
FlySafe's Business Booster is back to help elevate and celebrate small local businesses. Enter now at flysafe.co.za. Tell us about your business and you could be one of 6 standout enterprises to win 10 return business class flights plus brand exposure across FlySafe's various platforms. Whether you're making, creating or innovating, we're here to help your business not just take off but skyrocket. FlySafe, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
Time. When you're a kid, it moves slower than a sloth trying to get through airport security. There is just so much of it. Skip forward a few years to your 20s. Time is still your friend. It says have some balance. Go party and have fun. Then your 30s hit. And time suddenly steps on the accelerator like it's trying to catch a traffic light before it goes red. 40s. Now time is moving faster than your 10-year-old on a sugar high. 50. You're desperately trying to save as much as you can, but time is moving so fast. And all you can think is, where did all the time go? That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time for some much-deserved you time. Now, isn't that a compelling enough reason to invest? Ellen Gray. Long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Straight to the calls, and then we'll take some of your WhatsApp voice notes. Let me start with Bonagele in Khayelitsha. Good morning to you, Bonagele.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated what you're doing because I'm on N1. Can you believe I'm taking a chance right behind the
I hope you are hands-free, Bonagele, hey?
Absolutely, no problem, no
Sure.
problem. That's why I'm saying I'm very lucky you taking taking me as the first caller.
Uh-huh.
Look, I'm really disappointed with the 2 leaders that I respect so very much. Talking about the president of this country, currently President Ramaphosa, and he's the former president who started with regard to this national dialogue. As a result, with the Thabo Mbeki Foundation withdrawing from participating, you understand? It actually worries me because I respect those 2 leaders very, very well. Very much. So all they need to do, one must swallow his pride. They must sit down and negotiate as to how this thing is going to be done. Instead of doing what they are doing right now. Because I'm just checking what is the enemy doing right now. They're clapping hands. They're happy with regard to for them not seeing each other. You understand?
Gotcha.
Exactly. That is what is happening.
Yeah.
So all they need to do, one must swallow his pride and then talk to one another so that, I'm just worried about enemies. That's my thing. Because I respect them very much.
Of course, Bonagele, thank you for that. Of course, the Thabo Mbeki Foundation is not the only one that has withdrawn. It's one of the many foundations that have withdrawn from the National Dialogue. Not the National Dialogue, but the National Convention. To be very clear, it's the National Convention and the preparatory task team from which they have withdrawn. The way I understand it, they remain committed to the overall process of the National Dialogue. Let me take a call from Thomas in Newcastle. Good morning to you, Thomas.
My coach.
Bab.
Is to say, maybe my biggest, I think it's frustration is to hear the spokesperson saying what he just said now when interviewing him. Basically saying, if I heard him properly, I might be misconstruing it.
Sure.
It doesn't matter whether we have the definitive budget or not, we're going to do this thing. And it is acceptable as the government to do stuff without a definitive budget. That's what I heard him say. The fact that as the presidency, they get allocated an amount based on what they said they were budgeting, this was not planned upon, if I understood their budget for this financial year. They didn't budget for this. So wherever they're taking the money from, they're taking the money from a budget that wasn't catered for this one. So we have a right to be saying, how much is it going to be costing us? Because we don't want next year to be hearing from the, who's this guy, the Auditor General, that there was wasteful expenditure and whatever. How are we not learning? It excuses the other departments now from sticking to the financial fiduciary.
Gotcha. Thomas, thank you for that. I'm glad that we eventually got a figure out of Vincent Makwenya. So the way this is going to work, Thomas, is NEDLEC is going to almost, advance and fund a portion, and they will be reimbursed. The statement from the presidency says will be reimbursed from the budget of the presidency, as well as communication and the like, for whatever is not covered by sponsorship. So the way I understood Vincent Makwenya to be saying is that I can't give you a figure of how much the national convention will cost, because while we have this 25 million rand, in mind, we're still working actively to whittle it down such that by the time we are done, we'll be able to say we had 25 million rand set aside through the mechanisms of NEDLEC, but right now what we need to reimburse NEDLEC is X, Y, and Z, and perhaps they're hoping it will be much, much lower than 25 million rand. But the flip side of it is that the foundations would have liked certainty about the budget. What budget are we working with? What resources are allocated? And that's one of the litany of concerns about the whole process. Linda in Boksburg, good morning.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. How are you?
Very well. How are you? Linda? Linda, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, I've got you now. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying first and foremost, the spokesperson for the president, I think he must be awarded some form of award for arrogance. I think this guy is growing in confidence to be an arrogant person, and I think he's mimicking his boss and his bosses there, including the minister and the president. People are just arrogant in government. It's exasperating, Thulasizwe. I mean, basic things like, for example, the 700 million figure came from people who were sitting in a first meeting that was discussing this national dialogue issue. It came from them. They were sitting with the president. Immediately thereafter, we were told there's going to be 700 million. And then when there was an outcry, then they started to disown the figure. Right? Fine. Let's move away from that. What is there is no way in which you can go around, perpetuate a lie that you are going to organize an event where you cannot estimate. There is no way in which you do a budget which is accurate. A budget is an instrument of estimation. You would estimate how much you can use so that within that framework, you would know whether you've overspent or you've spent less or you've spent within the budget. This is a clear attempt to rip off the country by giving people, whoever those people are, who are already planning to do all sorts of tendering for things that they're going to provide. They're going to provide. That's the reality of this. The budget in the end will be more than what you are being told, and there will be AG reports, there will be all sorts of things.
All right. Linda, thank you for that this morning. That's Linda. I don't want to weigh in on Linda's thoughts about the arrogance or otherwise of Vincent Makwenya. Let me just say that at a professional level, he actually is very resourceful and very helpful and engaging as well. But the perception of the public, I don't want to detract from what Linda is saying. He's a public figure, a player in the public space, and he's perceived by different people differently, and therefore Linda is well entitled, I imagine, to form a view about Vincent Makwenya as a wielder of public power. Yalezo in Mtata, good morning.
Thulasizwe, let me be quick, man.
Yes, please go ahead.
I saw the registration of Maibuya of Lloyd Shivambu. And when I saw the CIPC registration, it's him, I think maybe his wife, or I don't know, and another person related to him. So my thought was around the breakaway political parties. The problem with them is because mostly they are based on personalities.
Yeah.
All the way from the breakaway of the PAC was Robert Sobukwe, the UTM, General Olomisa is still president until now. The EFF, you can see it's Malema. You can see the COPE was Musiwa Lukota. More recently, the MK party, you can see its personalities. Hence, a person like me who does not believe in personalities but believes in the ideas. It's hard for me not to vote for the ANC.
I see.
I would rather sit and not go and vote than go and vote for all these breakaway parties.
But is personality not important in politics, though? At least in our space.
Look, Thulasizwe, it's important, but a person must not rule absolutely.
Yeah.
The ANC, Thulasizwe, remains the only political party that is democratic, where a leader can go. Ramaphosa can go tomorrow, but there will be leadership and the party will continue.
Okay, I hear you.
Put away the flaws and all the corruption related to the ANC.
There'll be multiple parties, though, that will claim internal democracy when your EFFs, your the DA and the likes will tell you that we can have change of leadership.
It's just on paper. It's just on paper.
Okay.
Malema is an absolute ruler there. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. That's Yalezo out in Mtata. Thank you for that engagement. We will make time and we'll take more of your calls and WhatsApp voice notes a bit later on.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
FlySafe's Business Booster is back to help elevate and celebrate small local businesses. Enter now at flysafe.co.za. Tell us about your business and you could be one of 6 standout enterprises to win 10 return business class flights plus brand exposure across FlySafe's various platforms. Whether you're making, creating or innovating, we're here to help your business not just take off but skyrocket. FlySafe, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
Big stories of the day. #The Morning Brief.
23 minutes after 8. As police, government leaders and civil society gathered in Cape Town's Manenberg on Saturday to pledge an end to gun violence, tragedy struck just 2 kilometers away in Heideveld, where a 30-year-old woman was shot dead in a drive-by shooting. The woman, believed to be a witness in a criminal case, was murdered in broad daylight, starkly underscoring the crisis of unchecked violence in Cape Town's gang-ravaged communities. Let's speak to Vanessa Adrianse, who is acting chairperson of the Manenberg Community Policing Forum. And I believe, Vanessa, that you were attending that Silencing the Guns pledge ceremony at the Phoenix High School when this incident occurred. Just the overall shock of it, an incident of this nature happening on a day so symbolic in terms of what you were doing at that school, as well as it being National Women's Day. What does it tell us about the culture of violence, specifically gun violence, in those communities?
Yeah, good morning. So I'm still, my heart is still bleeding over what took place on Saturday, and one cannot actually get used to these kind of happenings. However, I'm not saying that we need to accept it. We need to find a way. How do we go forward? But yes, going back to Saturday, the sad part was, while we were busy with an event launching Silence of the Guns in Manenberg, not even 2 kilometers away, we got a call to say that a female was shot. And when we came to the scene, we got to a lifeless body of a 30-year-old female. I don't know what is worse, the fact that she was shot on Women's Day. Not that we are saying it's okay to kill a woman any other day, I don't know what was worse to say that while we are busy with the launching silencing the guns, this female was shot, and it's devastated. And you know what is even worse is the fact that after going to the scene, witnessing how this lifeless body was laying there, I myself as a woman, I had to go back in tears to that same event, and I had to sign a pledge where we all pledged to say that we will do something about silencing the guns. So is these kind of events working while we are busy at an event? They are shooting our females, but on the other hand is while we were at the event, we could see the enormous success of the event, how the community welcomed that event, how it was needed in the community.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best successful events that took place in the Western Cape on Women's Day. But what do we do?
Yeah.
Because where we're supposed to be safe.
Tell me a bit more about the pledge, Vanessa, and I think the incident occurring on that day, in a way, emphasizing the urgency of the moment and that action of the intention of silencing the guns. From that pledge and all of that activity that was taking place, what are the pathways that you saw for yourself as a community leader that can lead to the guns being silenced, such that we don't have incidents like the one we saw on Saturday?
You know, like I'm saying, is it's all good that all these things is on paper. But if it's not being implemented, if there's no action towards these pledges, then it's senseless. The success was also, and I want to take this opportunity to thank all spheres of government that attended. We had all levels of government that attended. We had local councillors there. So that was good. And CPFs was there and the community was there, because we need to understand that nothing can be successful without the public participation of the community. But the success and going forward and paving the way open to ensure that we can conquer these things of not taking place is where we need to implement these things that we put on paper. We can all sign pledges 24/7, but if we don't implement it, if there's no action, then it's senseless.
Yeah. All right. I've got to thank you for your time. That's Vanessa Adrianse, who is acting chairperson of the Manenberg Community Policing Forum.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Shall we call him SFM, Sasha Feinberg Mngomezulu? He's got a starting spot in the lineup, yeah?
Yeah, the perfect 10. That's it. He's going to let his boots do the talking. Is our 22-year-old Sasha Feinberg Mngomezulu. And Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus has entrusted him with that number 10 jersey for this weekend's test against the Wallabies. South Africa looking to sharpen their attack ahead of the Rugby Championship. Let's go to cricket. Australia stretched their T20 winning streak to 9 matches with a 17-run victory over the Proteas in Darwin yesterday. Chasing 179, the Proteas stumbled and they couldn't recover, finishing on 161 for 9. Australia lead the 3-match series 1-0. Women's soccer, the University of Pretoria ending their 5-match winless run, the 1-0 win over City Lads FC in the Hollywood Bet Super League. Here's coach Mort Khumalo.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but we've been grinding and planning. We need to get back in our winning ways because of, as you said in the interview, we need to run away from relegation, and then it's not good for the university as well. But I think the girls understand the mandate. That's why today I said they came in and they put their A game, and then they fought for each and every ball. That's why we managed to get that goal. I believe we should have scored a lot of goals because we created a lot of goals first half, but we couldn't convert.
TUT Masatsansa coach Christina Kutumela is not entertaining any talk of being title contenders. Despite being the closest team to Mamelodi Sundowns, TUT thrashing Royal AM 5-2 at the Tuck Stadium yesterday, Kutumela admitted to being happy.
This is the kind of football that I've been looking forward to, trying to get the team together and everything. And honestly, I could see that the puzzle is coming together now after 2 years of struggle. But yeah, having to see them playing like this, those combination passes, knowing where to pass, when to pass, it's so amazing. I'm very happy for today.
And finally, athletics. 15-year-old Italian Kelly Douala stormed to victory in the women's 100 metres at the European Under-20 Athletics Championships in Finland, clocking 11.22 seconds. Born in 2009 to Cameroonian parents, Douala was inspired by the Jamaican Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, the twice Olympic 100-metre champion. That's a wrap. We'll be back with John Gericke. More sport around 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
With the headlines at 8:30, I'm Dinamo Daung. Good morning. The General Industries Workers Union of South Africa is calling for strict price controls on essential food items. In other news, Action SA says crime has no expiry date. This follows Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Gayton McKenzie's alleged racist remarks in old social media posts. And 3 women arrested for storming the Leon Ngoyi Clinic in Soweto are expected to appear in the Orlando Magistrates Court today. They are believed to be members of the civil society group Operation Dudula. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Busy at Galuli's now on the N3 running north. It's a crash as you link off onto the N12 and R24, so that's quite heavy. There's also a collision at Galuli's coming in from the Ekurhuleni side as well. So quite big backlogs north from Germiston and inbound from the respective Edenvale exits, if you like. The N17, roadworks at Rondebolt Road. They caught you heading out homebound on Friday, causing an even bigger delay inbound this morning. Single lane open backlogs from just after Carnival City exit as you make your way along the N17 in from Brakpan towards Boksburg. Very heavy on the N14 this morning. The Krugersdorp Highway, you will sit from the R55 Pretoria West exit up to Brakfontein. You might want to exit at the R55 to avoid the worst of that big backlog. Durban's N2 North, still a bit sluggish, getting up through Westwood Mall towards Mgena Road into the roadworks. All the dramas with the crashes and breakdowns at Key Ridge, that's all cleared. So the Key Ridge section, Durban bound, moving nicely. Cape Town, there's just been a crash. N1 into town at Plattercliff Road. That's just starting to back things up. Collision on the M3 at Woolsack Drive. Now, this is having a major impact. That is just past UCT before you get to Hospital Bend. The traffic queue is right back at Constantia. So M3 inbound is heavy and a lot of traffic coming off the highway wherever it can and jamming up alternative routes like the main road, particularly between Claremont and Newlands. So very heavy there. And the R300 still jam-packed up towards an off-ramp at Van Riebeek Road as you turn into Strand. That big junction of Strand and Labelle's down, and that's what's causing the wait to get off that R300. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
All right, let's go to
West Africans.
All right, that was not meant to happen. Let's go to Ndauleng Lechala with the last update of the morning. Part of what Ndauleng will be telling us about is imminent changes in terms of the leadership at the South African Revenue Service. And we have Ndauleng on the line now. Ndauleng, good morning to you. Talk to me about, is it time to say goodbye to Edward Kisweta? Well, not time yet, but soon it will be.
Yes, we're very close to saying goodbye to the current SARS Commissioner, Edward Kisweta. He has announced that preparations are underway to appoint his successor when his contract ends next year. In a letter to staff, Kisweta clarified his position amid speculation about his departure, stating that he agreed to stay beyond his initial 5-year contract at the request of President Ramaphosa. Now, the extension was meant to allow Kisweta to implement strategic plans and strengthen SARS leadership bench. Now, Kisweta noted that discussions have begun with the finance minister and the president to address the leadership transition. He emphasized that he has not formally resigned from his position as SARS Commissioner. Now, Kisweta was appointed in 2019 to restore capacity and stabilize state finances after the tenure of former Commissioner Tom Moyane.
And I see that the Minister of Electricity, Minister Ramokgopa, is urging calm and basically what's that they say, Marumofats. Marumofats, please come down, saying that to Eskom in relation to their intended court challenge against NERSA.
That's right, Tulas. Now, Minister Ramokgopa calling on Eskom to withdraw its court challenge to nurses' approval of 5 electricity trading licenses and 1 import-export license. Ramokgopa's request comes after top business organizations, Business Unity SA and Business Leadership SA urged him last week to intervene in the matter, citing concerns about Eskom's anti-competitive behavior and its potential to undermine reforms in the energy sector. Now, in his response, the minister acknowledged the Eskom's concerns about the lack of clear rules for electricity trading, but noted that NERSA has expedited its timeline for finalizing the rules from 1 year to 3 months. Now, given this development, Minister Ramokgopa encouraged Eskom to consider withdrawing its court action to allow the regulatory process to unfold without parallel legal processes that may undermine confidence or delay reform. Ramokgopa emphasized the importance of a collaborative approach, calling on stakeholders to engage with NERSA in a constructive manner to ensure the finalization trading framework within the revised timeline.
Lastly, Dowling, it's a Monday. Tell us what kind of a trading day we can expect.
So local equity markets likely to start the week in positive territory. It's a big week when it comes to economic data with unemployment, manufacturing and mining production reports all due this week. Ahead of that jobless print in particular, the rand is steady. It's at 17.71 to the dollar. Then moving over to the commodities scene, oil taking a knock as investors awaited the outcome of talks between the US and Russia later this week on the war in Ukraine. It's sitting at just above $65 per barrel. And then over in Wall Street, traders keeping an eye on those talks and looking out for the inflation print due tomorrow. Ahead of that, futures are in positive territory. Lastly, in Asia, the mood also upbeat with stocks on track to close the day in the green.
All right, thank you for that, Ntauling. Great doing Monday with you. That's Ntauling Lechela, who's kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets throughout the show.
West Africans Niger are hunting for nothing but 3 points, while Bafana Bafana are pumped to achieve a win. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Niger confronts South Africa on Friday, 15 August at 7 p.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yeah, a bit earlier on, we took a voice note where someone was asking about the emblem, the sponsorship emblem on the shirts of the Betway Premiership clubs, and saying that the one that Sundowns wears is different to the ones worn by every other team. I think the color was black and gold as opposed to black and white, for Sundowns being black and gold. So someone has a response, and thank you for that response. Let's hear what it is.
Morning, Thulasizwe. Or the issue of Sundowns having a gold thing on their right arm, it's because they won the league last season. So whoever wins the league from now on will have that gold thing. So if you fake it and say and put it in your kit, then you're gonna get. I think it's a fine, or you must explain when did you win the league.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you, Thulasizwe.
Very nice. I did imagine that it has to do with that, but assumptions can be dangerous. So I just thought, let me let someone who knows for a fact respond, because assumptions just don't help. I imagine that would be it. It would be the equivalent of the star in other competitions that gets put on your kit. So thank you for that. More responses about Gayton McKenzie as well as the preparations for the national dialogue.
Good morning, Thulasizwe and the listeners. On Mackenzie's tweets, I don't think the tweets were missed, but this just shows that we as South Africans would vote for anyone who gives us a glimpse of little hope. We like to hero worship people, and we are looking for a savior. Unfortunately, this is what we are as an electorate. Thank you so much, Anonymous in Durban.
Good morning. This national dialogue is the biggest waste of time and money. Doesn't the president either read or listen? We have a free, televised and written media. All our problems are well known to everyone. This is just another opportunity for the cadres to get hold of tenders. I mean, 700 million. What a waste of money. There's one solution. We all know what it is. Get rid of the ANC. Paul Stellenbosch.
Paul, thank you for that. Let me continue on that theme. Let me take Muzi in Harrismith. Good morning to you, Muzi.
Thulasizwe.
Bab.
Thulasizwe, God has blessed me with more than 55 gifts. And one of these, among the 55 gifts, is leadership. So I'm one of the most frustrated person in South Africa because I'm watching people ever since 27 April 1994 fumbling in leadership position, have no clue of what they're doing. Even today, 31 years down the line, you hear them being interviewed on radio individually. On radio, you can't get a clue what this person is trying to say. They've got no clue. Thabo Mbeki, even the old man, he did very well underground, demonstrating his leadership under difficult circumstances. But when he had a huge platform, and in that platform to demonstrate his leadership, then he started fumbling himself. I mean, the issue of Codesa 1 and 2, that's where they gave back everything to the oppressor, the land, the economy, the infrastructure, which are the 4 pillars of democracy. So I don't understand what is it that we do. And thereafter, the old man said, the border must be demolished, whereas they've got no clue how to run a government. And
who said the border must be demolished, Muzi?
It was the old man on news, on television.
The late former President Nelson Mandela?
Yes.
I don't remember that, but I'll take your word for it, yeah?
No, check it on radio, on television, and you'll get a clip of it. I nearly kicked down my television because I said, don't say that.
So in your view then, Muzi, who has a clue in terms of leadership if you're saying all of these leaders, these people we call leaders, have no clue? There must surely be someone who has a clue that you think we are overlooking out of, 60 odd million of us? No.
Number one, Thulasizwe, the old man said when they started the government, there won't be any luxury cars. There won't be a free compulsory education for all, free houses for all, and so forth. And he has never done anything out of that. Now, he started having luxury cars under his nose as a president in the beginning. When people ask him about what he promised them, there won't be any luxury cars. You know what he said to us? He was in Durban in a rally. He said, you propose a girl by telling lies. That was the old man said. He was laughing. Now, everything they do, the politicians are telling lies whenever they wake up. They tell lies. The only time they are innocent and accountable.
Sure, I hear you, Muzi, but I was hoping you would suggest a name then. Having given the diagnosis you've given, I was hoping you were going to give a name. Who would be suitable in your view? Would it be you?
The person is going to be suitable. The person is blessed in leadership.
Okay.
Leadership is a blessing from God,
All right.
And a shepherd cannot walk on a red carpet.
Gotcha.
We're having shepherds that are walking on red carpet. Look at them. Listen to this 740 million.
All right. I've got to move on.
Treasury said they don't have the money, but out of the blue, 2 weeks thereafter, there's 700 million they want to share among themselves.
All right, that's Muzi out in Harrismith there, making the point about leadership. You may want to engage with some of what Muzi has had to say about leadership since 1994, really, is the indictment that he's presenting. Begi in Mpumalanga, good morning.
A very good morning to you, Thulas.
Good morning.
I heard you talking to the gentleman earlier on regarding trucks and the contract and so on.
Yes, the e-hailing drivers, yeah.
Yes, I wanted just to give them a small advice that there is a piece of legislation called Basic Condition of Employment Act and the Contract Law of South Africa that will be able to legislate and also to guide them as to how to structure their agreements that they enter into. And I have seen your strategy, Thulas, that you are preparing yourself for paper 3, talking about all these things to ensure that.
No. Ivalem fana, leave it there. Ivalem fana. Peggy, but I'm just wondering though, is the solution to go on a piecemeal, litigate, resort to that legislation whenever these issues come about, or is the solution a more structural one, as the e-hailing organization is arguing for, that you need a structural intervention such that we don't have to go through, digging so hard for us to access the basics in terms of rights and entitlements?
You are absolutely correct, Thulas, when you speak about a structural, what you call, organization that will assist more especially those who are vulnerable. In South Africa, I'll tell you what's happening. They are always taking advantage of those who are vulnerable. I'm talking about the employees and those who are entering into contracts. The least I say about your entity, the better, because when you look at the force majeure clause, where one will have to attend, let's say, a game at Orlando Stadium, and there comes a storm and a rain, and the rain will be postponed. Is that catered to into your contract and so on? Those are the things that you need to look at. And those organizations and unions that might be formed, you need to have people who are well conversant and people who will be able to advise accordingly as far as that is concerned, not to enter into a contract through excitement and to say that I'm going to make quick money. Thank you, Thulas.
All right, Peggy, thank you for that. That's Peggy out in Mpumalanga. Thank you for those calls. We'll take a few more before we go.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, let me take more of your voice notes. A lot of you engaging on the issue of the national dialogue. Quite a significant amount of contributions coming through specifically on that topic. We are in the build-up, of course. On Friday, the National Convention is taking place at UNISA, and the President has made it clear that it will go ahead. Do yourself a favor just to balance it all. Take in what the President is saying and read their statement, but also reflect on the concerns of the foundations, the legacy foundations, and therein, somewhere between those narratives, perhaps you will find what is the true state of play in terms of preparedness, in terms of budgeting, in terms of the nature of the national dialogue. Does it remain a citizen-led process? And I suppose the National Convention will give us some of those answers. How it plays itself out will be emblematic and perhaps show us how it will all unfold, the process going forward. Let me take a voice note on the national dialogue, and then I'll go to a call from Magdalene in Bloemfontein.
Thulas, you as an ordinary human being, what did I benefit from the State Capture Commission? Nothing. What makes us think that this so-called national useless dialogue is going to benefit us? If we didn't benefit from the State Capture, even now I don't think we're gonna benefit. And remember when the State Capture Commission started, how much was the budget? How much was the budget when the commission ended? Even this one is going to balloon to millions. Yes.
Yeah, I can hear it in your voice. I can hear the exasperation in your voice about the benefit or otherwise from this process of the national dialogue. And that is the central question, isn't it? We'll have the national dialogue, fair and fine. Then what? What's the follow-through? Will it be any different from the follow-through we had with the National Development Plan? Will we have a dashboard? Will we have landmarks and milestones that say, at this point, we need to be at this point of implementation, and who will be responsible for getting us to that point? And what's the next point of implementation? I think you get what I'm saying. Magdalene, very quickly, let me take your call also on the national dialogue.
Yes, morning to Thulasizwe and the listeners. Thank you for taking my call. Thulasizwe, I think last year, immediately after the elections, when they are talking about putting South African first, I proposed here on SAFM, saying, please, we need to dialogue with the parliament directly from different radio stations on a certain day, so that we voice out whatever that we feel dissatisfied with in order for the government to can be in par with the citizens of South Africa. But that thing never happened. Point is, we don't need things like this to have waste expenditure, whereby it's only the streamline of looting from our taxes. They were supposed to allocate this money to the people who want to industrialize, especially the South Africans. Secondly, those who are affected, their businesses are affected during the COVID-19, and they can't uplift their businesses right now.
Yeah.
So these people are not for us. They are not for us.
All right. Magdalene, thank you for that. And I think that point about alignment between the leaders and the led is what Magdalene is talking to. Parliament has constituency work. They do constituency work. There's the annual review of the Constitution. It happened recently, and I don't know the extent of enthusiasm and participation by ordinary South Africans. Is it even a question of enthusiasm on their part, or is it a question of people just don't know that these processes of dialogue are always open, that participatory part of our democracy? Do we emphasize it enough? Are some of the questions that are brought to the fore by this conversation.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy traffic building up again through the Crown interchange. Central Joburg, it's a collision seen up by Carr Street on the Mike 1, the double-decker bottom deck there. So the Mike 1 from Boyson's, the M2 from Joe Slovo, all jammed up trying to get into that Mike 1 via Crown interchange. Also a breakdown on the N3 North at Heldenace. That started to push back a queue towards the cement factory territory. N17 inbound stays heavy coming out of Brakpan to Boksburg. Roadwork, single lane open near Rondebolt Road. I think that's an upgrade both sides, so watch for that this afternoon as well. Durban bound coming out of Pietermaritzburg. Some earlier dramas at Key Ridge. That's all been sorted out. A crash and then a breakdown. It's all out of the way now. Traffic flowing. In fact, Durban easing up across the board quite nicely. Cape Town, the M3 inbound remains heavy. It was an earlier crashing up by Woolsack Drive just ahead of Hospital Bend. And it looks like it's probably being cleared, but the backlog is all the way down to Constantia. That's a heavy queue to work through. And a crash on the N1 into town at Plattercliff Road, holding traffic coming off the hill. And a collision on Marine Drive at Woodbridge Island, just holding traffic arriving into that central Milnerton area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Bafana are confident they can defeat the West Africans. Meanwhile, the National Elephants want to step their foot down and walk away with victory. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Be part of the thrilling action. South Africa clashes with Guinea on Monday, 11 August at 4 p.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Mr. Govender, congrats on the retirement. You just sold your car to We Buy Cars. Tell us about it.
Yes, it just gathered dust in the garage, so I exchanged it for cold hard cash. Now my wife and I can enjoy a stress-free retirement.
Retiring the car as you retire. Nice. So why We Buy Cars?
It was so quick. They came over to our house to do the evaluation, and we sold it the same day. Tops, man.
Okay, so now you got even more time on your hands, eh?
Exactly.
We Buy Cars. Geared for your next chapter. Geared for you.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
A message from Boss Matlare out in Limpopo says, why all this money to be spent on national dialogue? Would you say the leaders are completely blind about the issues bedeviling our country? A big no. We need to do something to deal with the issues in this country, which are well known to us all. I wanted to read one message quickly before I go to my next guest, Dr. McKenzie, to talk about issues out in Johannesburg. And this person here says, the president wants to be a dictator without power. He listened to South Africans when we rejected the flag from Nathi Mthethwa. But now when it comes to him, he doesn't want to listen. he even ignores the fact that he's ignoring the calls that he's not available to journalists. So 2 issues being raised there. This person says the president should listen to South Africans the same way that he listened when South Africans rejected. You remember that? The story of the flag. What was going to be hoisted? How long was it going to be? 10 meters or whatever, a massive, massive flag. So says this person that the president should listen to South Africans the same way. Thank you for those. Let me turn to the story. The city of Johannesburg says it has taken a step toward modernizing law enforcement and enhancing public safety with the rollout of high-tech equipment and an expanded vehicle fleet. The Johannesburg Metro Police Department, JMPD, under the Public Safety Department, unveiled handheld ticketing devices, a new fleet of 213 vehicles and 2-way radios during a launch event at the Grasmere Toll Plaza. I'm joined now by the member of the mayoral committee responsible for public safety in the city of Joburg, Dr. Mgcini Jwaku. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Let's go step by step. Let's start with this handheld equipment, devices. What will they enable officers to do on the roadside in terms of law enforcement, but also in terms of ensuring the general safety of Joburg residents?
Good morning, sir, and good morning to your listeners. Basically, this device will be able to, number one, to get your details proper in terms of where you're coming from and all of that. To profile the motorist. Secondly, we'll be able to detect in terms of if the vehicle is stolen or not, and then also it will be able to check for us in terms of you are, how many tickets that you are owing us and all of that, which tickets that you have not paid and all of that. Because most of the work that we used to do it actually very manually. And I think for me, a plus is that we need to move away from using paper.
Yeah.
What the listeners don't know, and it's public out there, is that there's been a lot of infringements that did not, that we actually had to write off because of the officers could not, they were like mistakes. For example, if I write 100 tickets, at the end of the day, you'll find that only 30 tickets are admissible.
Is it that high?
That's very bad. I was very angry. There was an investigation going on in terms of who are those officers who are doing that, and also which areas that is actually happening. It's a very serious concern for me. And I've been saying that. I think I did say in one of the interviews, because it's some matter out there. Because remember, in a ticket, if you make a mistake, like maybe you wanted to, if you write a wrong date and you want to correct it, that ticket is useless. So now, and also these books are very, very expensive.
Yeah.
So for us, going paperless is quite very good.
So now officers will be able to issue the infringement notices on the spot, using these gadgets. How will you ensure though that they don't capture incorrectly? How do they remove the human element? Because I don't know, my suspicion is that in some instances that human element, those quote unquote errors, are not errors at all.
Yeah, look, the only thing that we say to the guys is that any individual that has been found, I don't know, because I said that's to my HOD, any individual that is found that, there must be a track record, or, we must actually plot it out about who are these individuals who are really doing this thing, because we have to take them back to academy to go and train again to ensure that, the guys know how to write this thing and all of that. So there's been a training that has been happening behind the scenes to ensure that people, they write these, in infringement, they actually proper. It has been a problem, I can tell you right now.
But Dr. Job, do you suspect that some officers deliberately write the wrong date, wrong amount, wrong street, wrong intersection deliberately to sabotage the validity of the infringement notice, the ticket?
That is an allegation, because some of the people, some of the people that have came to us is that these are tip-offs, is to saying that, they will threaten you of writing a ticket but they can make a deal with you to say, look, I'm not going to write you this ticket of, let's say, 500. Give me 250. So it was another way probably people were saying that this is actually going to stop any criminality or any corruption that is happening on
going
the road.
paperless. So is this part of the implementation of the ARTO system, but also happening at a, what do you call it? Not experimental, but you get what I mean. Joburg being one of the cities at the forefront, the initial rollout before broader rollout.
Yeah, look, we're fine. It's just that on our side, we're just saying that, look, this thing of going down to the edges, we must professionalize the system. Because if you go to the city of Johannesburg, most of the systems are still, it's still hard labor. We have to go into it. So it's one of the strategies, because remember, as an MMC deployed from the EFF, one of the things that I was told is that we have to come about is that we need to professionalize these institutions. You have to be professional.
I've got to go.
I mean, you're gonna see even now the cars that we have right now. We've actually put what is called an automated dispatch. The system. Because you can't.
I'm out of time. I do need to go, but I've got to thank you for your time. That's Dr. Mgcini Jwaku, who is the MMC for Public Safety in the city of Johannesburg. I've overstayed my welcome. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your robust engagement over the last 3 hours. The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana is up next after the news at 9 o'clock with Dineo Motaung. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
Thank you. Tula's top stories. Union calls for price caps on essential foods, and Zelensky urges caution ahead of Trump-Putin talks. A very good morning. The General Industries Workers Union of South Africa, GIWOSA, is calling for strict price controls on essential food items. It also wants the nationalization of the manufacturing of food to mitigate the effects of food inflation. The union has expressed outrage at a report from the Agricultural Business Chamber showing that food inflation has jumped to 4.7%, a 16-month high. GIWOSA President Mametlo Sibey says this is a brutal assault on the poor and the working class.
It is catastrophic because what you are looking at is not just the price of food in general. It is the fact that it is precisely those essential bodybuilding, proteins and vegetables, as well as staples like maize, meal and sons, that have actually skyrocketed.